Greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop, episode 44, a game podcast created by three people who know there aren't enough podcasts out there. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by two other co-hosts today, the first of which is Scott.
Hello.
Scott, a while back you scoffed at me and I never forgot it and I never forgave you, okay? I
can see that.
I said to you at the time that the best scene in modern Star Wars, I think I said movies, was when Kylo Ren teamed up with Rey and they fought Schnook's bodyguards in Schnook. You scoffed at that, and I cannot remember what you said was the actual best in the modern Star Wars, the best scene.
There's so many. I just despise that movie so much. That I have to admit that scene was pretty cool, but out of context, right? If you just watch that scene, you'd be like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!"
Yeah.
But the context of the story and just that leads up to that is just so god awful garbage that it just
all right. I can agree. So I can agree with that.
I see that. Much like the trailer for Phantom Menace, when you saw the lightsaber fight at the end, right? Mm-hmm. Epic. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. This is we get to see the actual Jedi Knights like fight somebody.
Yeah.
Everything leading up to that was just garbage, but that one fight scene was just epic. So, I'm hoping the next movie is just a 2.5 hour lightsaber battle. So I think that's probably safe for Disney and everyone else. And everyone can.
All right. So you and so on the record, you are sidestepping my question of you're not going to give me your favorite scene in modern Star Wars.
Favorite scene in modern? Oh, I don't think
modern
it would be a movie.
Star Wars movies.
No, I don't think it would. Oh, in movies.
In the the Rey era of movies.
Okay. I would say probably Force Awakens. Han and Chewie walk in. Opening, their scene opening, and he says, "Chewie, we're home," and it's that. When I went to see that at the theater, people were like standing up. I mean, just like freaking out. I mean, that just that was a start of what we thought we were getting. A very nostalgic Star Wars. And,
a little nostalgia bait.
And then they killed him off. Mm-hmm. So, still not happy about that.
All right, Thick, this isn't your question, but do you kind of approve with what Scott just said?
I approve.
Okay. Obviously, Thick is our third podcast host.
Yes. Hello.
Thick, how are you?
Doing well. Happy Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. Thick, can you give us a grade to video game internet discourse over the last 5 or so days? How would you grade the overall internet in terms of video game? Yeah.
In terms of video games? Honestly, when it comes to just discourse online, it's always like a 3 or 4
out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just, everybody could get a free console, and it would still be like a 2 or 3.
Okay. Yeah.
So par for the course, you'd say.
Par for the course. No one's ever pleased.
Okay. All right.
Oh! I finished Jedi Survivor. I forgot to mention that too.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. Very, 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 very good ending.
Scott,
it was great.
Okay.
Go play it.
We're gonna jump into that though, Scott. We're gonna get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well.
All right.
That's pretty much.
So in this week's podcast, we're going to be covering Jedi Survivor, as Scott just alluded to, Warhammer Boltgun, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and the PlayStation Showcase. Before we get started, I want to remind listeners they can drop us a comment, question, or insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. Scott, what were you saying about Jedi Survivor?
When you finish the game and you do a new game plus, you get Party Saber.
What the heck is Party Saber? What is that?
Every time you swing it, it changes color.
Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh, really?
I thought it was the dumbest thing ever, and I can't stop using it. So, I finished this game. I was, it was difficult because of the, I don't want to say performance, because I still played it at about 50 frames per second, but they did patch some things that were, there were fewer bugs after the last patch.
Okay.
So after that last patch, I didn't really run into anything a couple of little graphical things here and there, but nothing that got in the way of finishing the game. Okay. And the story I was really worried about, and because the writer that did the last one is
was gone.
Yeah, it's gone. But yeah, it gets to the end. And you're like, oh my god, how are they going to wrap all of this up? This is getting really frayed. I don't know what they're going to do. And then 1, 2, 3, it had a great ending and on for more. It's obviously going to be a
trilogy.
Yes.
Okay, so it sets something up.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that game have a Star Wars scroll, yellow text going off into the, universe?
At the beginning? No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, I don't. No, I don't think it does. It just goes straight into the menu.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm not buying it. The first game didn't have it either.
No. I think that's a way. I don't know what they're doing with that. I don't know why they're doing that.
Isn't Star Wars pretty particular of like what creators can kind of put in their new fiction
to a level? Yeah.
I think the first game was not. Disney came in and they said we don't want Jedi and we don't want lightsabers, and they all were like, well, we're actually making a Jedi game with lightsabers, and they're like, okay, but you can't say Jedi and you can't say Force, and they were like,
really?
Well, the name of the game is going to be Jedi Fallen Order, and it's going to have Force powers. And then they're like, well, okay. I think that was really like the... Yeah, so apparently it used to... LucasArts was their own entity. It was... George Lucas would walk in and go, hey, what are you guys working on? Like, hey, check out this Day of the Tentacle game. He's like, that's hilarious. Great, make it. So now it's like you have these liaisons and these meetings, and it's very difficult because Star Wars has gotten a lot bigger since then.
Yeah,
and so you have to be, and like the character that you play, Cal Kestis, is played by Dominic Montague. Have I got that right? Anyway, and that's his likeness. So he could very well just show up in a show as that character, in a later episode of like Boba Fett or The Mandalorian or whatever. So it all has to be, consistent and everything. So I'm sure that's difficult. But what they did with this, and I mentioned it earlier in another part in our other previous podcast, is that it's not following a dedicated Star Wars story. It's kind of going off and doing its own thing, which at first I didn't like because I liked the time frame of 5 or 6 years after the Order 66, and how this character was trying to hide from everything. Now he's not hiding; he's going full blown, just taking things out. And then he goes on this other kind of Star Wars story, but then comes back to that in a different way. And man, it doesn't. I don't think the story really starts out that great. It kind of starts out as, let's go check it out. I guess might be something, and then just blows up into something completely new. As obviously, I'm trying to be vague to not give anything away.
Yeah,
but yes, fantastic game, absolutely. And I think if you're on PC, I haven't played on anything else, but the last couple of patches, you're don't expect 60, 70, 100 frames per second, but I think it's worth playing now.
Playable. Good.
Playable. It's very playable, yeah.
Can you give us a rating?
Oh, if I had to rate it, I would say I would give it an 8.5. I would give it higher if it did not launch in such a crappy state.
Yeah.
But right now you'd say it's 9-ish?
I would say it's an 8.5, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is there any aspects you would give a 9 or above? Like, like story, gameplay, or anything?
I would say level design and exploration, like the actual, moving around in the world is much better than the first one.
Okay.
I would give that a solid 8. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots to find, and a lot of lightsaber pieces and a lot of clothing, a lot of cosmetics and stuff like that.
Is it a Metroidvania? Would you
Yeah,
call it
it's
that?
still you still have kind of like a hub world that you go to a planet, you kind of start it at the same location, and then you branch out, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. Like you'll go to one location and then find this and go, okay, I got to get back to the ship, and then you can fast travel in this one. But then when you go back to that location with a new ability or some way to open a door or get to something that is that you didn't know what it was before, because there's a lot of stuff that you're like, and he'll even say, what is that? And that's all you get, But then 5 hours later, you come back to it and go, oh, I can go from here to here to here to here. And then you find this whole nother set. You look at your map and it's like the same size level just opened up to you. So it's that's what I'm doing right now. I started a new game plus, which you get to keep your cosmetics and all of your abilities, except for the ones that you gain in the story.
Okay.
And then I'm just like getting into these open areas and exploring and, just having a blast with it. So.
All right.
That's a ringing endorsement. If you're going through a game again, I feel like that's an endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that wasn't the only game you played this week, Scott.
No, it was not.
You played a retro game.
I
retro
did.
inspired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us.
This one, it's Warhammer 40,000 Boltgun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about Warhammer other than the handful of games that I've played. Apparently, there's a lot of lore to this. But this guy you play it's. I don't know if I would really call this a what they call a boomer shooter, because a lot of it just looks like one, but it doesn't play like one. The guns
Meaning
that you
what?
have,
Meaning what?
Meaning that the guns that you have, you do have to reload. You do have a jump.
Mm-hmm.
You do have clamor. You can actually reach up and grab stuff. The sound quality is amazing. The visuals are great. And you even have a slider. You can make it look older, like more pixelated, like 320 by 200, or you can go all the way up to, 1440.
Mm-hmm.
But, and a lot of what feels like a boomer shooter is, of course, the enemies are 2D, they're two-dimensional.
Yeah.
But the way that the difficulty ramps up and the way that the levels are, it doesn't hold your hand at all. It's a lot of times it's really finding where you need to go is the enemy in this game.
Really?
There's no mini map. It's just you're kind of having to do trial and error. It's very vertical in some areas where you have to jump from here to here to here to get to a new location. So, and I don't know. I'm about 4 hours into it. I haven't finished it. I'm at a brand new location. So it's kind of like you do this one part, and again, like a boomer shooter, and then you go to the next part, and it's like starting a new game. You have the one gun, and you find the rest of them as you go and kind of start over with that in a completely different location. But it's really good. It's $20 on Steam if you like shooters in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth checking out. I watched a video of someone playing on Xbox, and nothing against this, but I watched somebody play it with a controller, and it looked very slow. It looked very like heavy and slow, not at all like I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I was kind of turned off, and then I watched Skill Up's review, who's playing on PC, and he's skating around and moving and jumping and throwing grenades, and I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. So I bought it, and yeah, man, it's really good. Another recommendation there.
All right.
The one thing I noticed, because I looked at a few different clips of this game, it seems like that game incentivizes you to constantly be moving. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
it doesn't. It's not like get behind that pillar and kind of take pot shots at people. It's just
no,
yeah.
No, not
Was
at
it
all.
from what I could see? Like one thing that makes it retro too is there's the ammo and armor around, right? Or
Yeah, all pickups. Yeah,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
pick up as you go, and there's no upgrading. There's no grinding or leveling. You do get upgrades, like limited upgrades. You find them. Like you might get an updated clip, or make your shotgun do more damage, or you updated armor or something like that. But it's only like you only get it for like 30 seconds, and it's usually when you have killed everything. So you walk around, it's like, yeah, I got this gun. It's like I can't find anybody to shoot. But Yeah, it everything that you have, like your health and your armor, are all pickups, and you have ones like these little falcons or something, I guess. I don't know, and little shields.
Mm-hmm.
So as you move across, there's like, it's kind of like Doom with the little blue bottles. So you run across them, and each one of those represents one. So if you go through and you can run through 20 or 40 of them, then you've got, say, 40 health and 40 armor. But then you find bigger packs that will give you 100. So then you can have 200, 250, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's fun. It's just a fun game. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, I'm interested in picking it up, but probably not anytime soon.
What was the price? What was the price on that?
When I got it, it was like $19.79, I think. I think it's like $21.99 normally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's definitely worth it. I mean, the enjoyment and for 4 hours that I've played it, and I'm not finished. I think I'm halfway through, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds like good value.
It's a good price, yeah. And it plays really well. I haven't had any bugs, haven't had any issues. Frame rate is through the roof, of course, because there's not much. It's very colorful. Apparently, it's very true to the Warhammer. You push T, and he taunts. Like one of them, he's like, "I am hate incarnate," or "I am the fist of the emperor," and he just like spouts off these things. And then if you sit there and he idles for a little bit, he brings out a book and he starts thumbing through a book. And I'm assuming that it's like the Space Marines manual. I don't know, whatever the lore behind that Warhammer stuff is, but he starts reading it, and
the text is a little blurry though.
Right. Yeah. You can't really read anything on it, but definitely tell it's a book.
Right. All right. Well, I will say to listeners, don't listen to Scott now. Listen to him next week, and if he doesn't bring this game up again, we'll know current Scott is a liar. But if he does bring it up, then we can.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll have it finished by then.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Thick, did you finally do your homework?
I did not have time to do the homework. But I mean, honestly, this weekend I was kind of too busy. Like, I seeing old friends, and like, I was at an anime convention, right? I mentioned the two days, right?
Yeah.
And they have arcade games, so I was playing some of the arcade games there. I don't remember the name, but there are so many different rhythm games now. It's kind of
really
interesting. Like, back in the day, we just thought, oh, DDR. But now it's like there's so many different machines. I don't even know the name of the one I was playing, but there was lines for all of them.
Was it still like a mat you have?
No, not
playing
even
with your feet.
It's more like a touch screen, but it's like a circular touch screen, and then there's buttons for like the specific quadrants, and then basically like the notes are coming from the middle, and you just gotta like know which area to touch, and then there's swiping. It's pretty complex now. Like when I see other people play it, like they're going kind of crazy. So
okay.
But then there's one where I think it's called Star Rush. I think it's by Konami. But it's do you know what shuffling is in the dance? Like, it's a type of dance. You might think of I don't know if you know, was it Party Rock? Do you remember that song?
No.
Okay, yeah.
It's like an 80s song.
No, it's not even. It's more of a recent trend.
Okay.
Like, actually, like 10 years old at this point. So
it's probably in Fortnite. It's probably in Fortnite, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
it is in
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
You've
seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen it. You witnessed it over your dead body.
Yeah, I've probably used it. I've probably used it a ton too.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, aside from that, earlier last week, I decided to set up my wheel, and
racing wheel,
yeah. And I only played one game. I want to play more, but having to set it up, because I don't have that much space right now. It's like just sitting behind me. I have to put it away every time. I only played one game, and that was F1 Racing 2021, I think. I know there's a 23 coming out. But it's so different from other racers. Like F1, like there's a lot of moving parts to that one.
Oh yeah.
That's all I can say. And it's like really fast. Like me trying to brake, like I just slam right into the person right in front of me. So
that's a no in racing.
That's a no. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll give you the merits, and like cutting corners in the game. Yeah, they'll add seconds to you. Like, if you do too many, right?
Right.
I mean, guess that's any sort of like real race, right? aside from that, I didn't get too far in it. One other thing I could say about just having one of these wheels is make sure you have a steady base, because I'm just putting it on like one of those TV dinner tables, like the ones you pull up to your couch.
Yeah.
It's because I could fit the pedals under it, but then once the force feedback kicked in, it's like just wobbling all over the place. Like it's like I can't counter it. So you need like a solid surface.
You need to set posts up and hook them to the beams in your walls.
Yeah.
You want that secure as possible.
Yeah, secure.
You want to turn your room into a roll cage, basically.
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to say real quick. So I'm starting to watch F1 a little bit on TV. I'm trying to follow it.
Yeah.
First of all, there's like basically one team has the best car, right? It's Red Bull. Yeah. Red Bull's car is just better than everyone else's, which I think that's insane. It seems crazy to me.
Because it's powered by Red Bull.
Oh, yeah,
it's powered.
It gives you wings.
When you put it like that, yeah, all right. But here's another thing that I find fascinating about it. So all the drivers, I think they have to speak English because they're trying to get it a worldwide sport, like they're trying to market it. Whenever you hear a driver complain, it's the funniest thing you've ever heard. They all like, oh, he hit me. How could he do this to me? Like, do something, help me. You know what I mean?
The crashes are pretty crazy.
They can be. But
you gotta be.
Yeah. It's funny because all the drivers are like, they grew up like you got to be wealthy. You got to be from a wealthy family to get into F1. Up the ranks, and so you're just seeing a lot of these rich people who are just like, giving a lot of attitude over the mic, which is funny.
Yeah. What was it? Honestly, like playing the game just like 30 minutes. I started to look into it a little bit more. There's whole like extra engineering involvement,
it's
right?
A sim,
there's
right? It's
yeah. There's like was it the drag reduction system, where you try to. Yeah, I think that's kind of self-explanatory.
If you're within if you're within 1 second of the car in front of you, they give you the DRS, drag reduction system, which means that your back panel goes down and then your car goes a little bit faster.
And you can that's when you could pass them.
Right. So it incentivizes more passing. And
it's really hard to pass people in this game without cutting like corners really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the cars are like 30 feet wide.
Yeah.
I know when you watch the races, it seems like it's all about tire management and who has the best cars. Like you really have to be babying your tires in those, because that's when you can pass people. Because if the guy in front of you has poor tires, like you can eventually get around them.
Yeah, and I think like the tires, like they spin so fast, they like explode if like something happens.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyways, that's me. So let's hear your playtime. I'm very curious.
Well, I don't know how much I should say. How much should I say about this game?
Please share.
Is it the same game as last week?
No, this is finally a new game. All right. So I did a 2-month stint where I was playing Enter the Gungeon, right?
Yeah.
And I finally left that and I started playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
He beat Enter the Gungeon.
I never did. I'm going back though. I'm going back. All right. But here's my question, and I almost feel like we should shell this topic because I want to hear Thick's response to this. But maybe he can help me because you've played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I have written, is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for casuals? Is it for casual gamers?
I think to me, just like Breath of the Wild and this game, it's meant for the widest possible range of gamers.
I see that. Yeah. I do see that.
I mean, that's Nintendo.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's not. They want it to be accessible to as many people as possible.
Right. I know, like, I've played. I've for some reason I don't ever feel like playing this game longer than an hour because I feel like it hands you little chunks. Like, you want to do this for 15 minutes? You want to do this for 10 minutes? You want to do this for 13 minutes? It's just every section of the map is just chock full of like a little like nugget, right?
It's kind of teaching you the mechanics a little bit still, right?
Yeah, actually they do a really good job with that. Like it's amazing. And I know like a lot of the shrines, they'll do combat shrines where you're forced to learn a thing, and then obviously at the end of the shrine they're going to give you a little like
little nugget, right?
A little nugget. You're like, I thought I had 4 of these. I can upgrade my heart containers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I the longer I play it, the more I'm like, well, this thing that I'm working on, whether it's a shrine, whether it's like a NPC encampment. It's all like, I know there's like an 8-year-old out there who's doing the exact same thing I'm doing because Nintendo has to make it for a massive audience, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I never feel like I'm accomplishing anything like that.
Grandiose or
that grandiose. Or I'm never like, oh my, like when you play Enter the Gungeon and you beat a boss that's been kicking your, kicking your butt.
That is the
you're like,
hardcore game.
You feel like, oh, I freaking destroyed that boss. You want to like get up and do whatever. This is just like
Dark Souls. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This just feels like, okay, I did the thing that was kind of easy to do. I do know I've died about 15 times thus far in the game, and each time I die, I'm like, it's always like I like an NPC from behind me like spit mud at me, and I was like, I guess it's like a very anticlimactic death, Whereas I Enter the Gungeon, it's like your heart's racing, you see your enemy, can I kill him? And this is just like, I guess I slipped and I fell to my death.
You needed a palate cleanser between these two games. I think going from that one to the, I think
right.
I think you need a middle point.
It's too drastic.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think
power washer, maybe.
Yeah. You need to clean that palate.
Clean something.
Yeah.
Well, okay. One thing about Tears of the Kingdom, I would say that part of the fun is probably what you kind of make of it. Almost like I know like some people like hate that phrase because it says, well, the game should tell me how to have fun or something like that, right? But I think like you have to play with the systems, right? Because like the physics system, are you curious how deep it goes? Like, or you've seen people make stuff.
I've seen stuff being made, and I do know when I like pass a little nugget with using a physics thing, my brain is like, oh, there's probably more than one way to do that. Yeah. But is that interesting to me? Like to think about, oh, I could get around them using the fans instead of the hot air balloon. Like, I don't go crazy thinking about that stuff. I'm just like, okay, I just give me my little Korok seed, give me my little nugget, right?
You want the nugget.
I need those nuggets. Yeah, it's the only thing that makes me feel alive.
Not the journey.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I get you. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Is it fun though? I mean, are you having fun with it?
Well, I say like, is it for casuals? Because when I play that game, I feel like I have to wear khakis, I have to wear a polo shirt, and I have to have a martini in my hand, and I have to be in a recliner.
Yeah.
I have to be in a recliner, and I have to be like, oh, let's dabble in this a little bit. It's like there are some games that like you lean in. Your like shoulders are facing the TV, and then this is like a reclining game. This is like, I'll mess around for 30 minutes. Yeah. So when I think like, am I having fun? I'm like, I guess I am. I'm like, I'm doing the little things, but it just never feels like, like my heart never does anything when I'm playing this game. It's just like,
you're just flatlined.
Yeah, and I'm being a little critical on that, but because I do feel like I'm like, the game is like impressive, right? Like the fact that they're getting this is a pretty detailed open world on a little Switch, which it is kind of cool to see how like it's way more interesting to walk around Tears of the Kingdom than like Horizon Forbidden West to me.
Yeah,
I probably agree to that.
Yeah. I know Forbidden West has like shiny graphics, but I never really care what's around the corner. Yeah. I do want to throw some shade at someone. Can I throw shade before we move off this topic?
Please do.
Is it at me?
No, it's no one here. So do you guys ever listen to the Spawn Cast podcast? It's kind of a nice podcast. It's
I have.
Yeah.
Is it like part of Spawn Wave?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like 4 or 5, 6 podcast hosts, and this is essentially what made me like, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta bite the bullet. I gotta like jump in and see what this is, because they're raving about the game. And at the end of the podcast, they're like, well, what do you think? Where do you think Zelda should go from here? Like, what? How do you improve on this, or how do you, what's the future of Zelda look like?
Yeah.
They went around the table, and they had 2 suggestions for the franchise. Do you want to know what their suggestions were?
Extraction stuff. Extraction.
No.
Extraction shooter.
That would be way cooler, Scott. That would be way cooler if the next one was extraction. They said the world. They said the world should be bigger. What? This is insane. I've played, I don't know, almost 10 hours now. I haven't come close to reaching the edges of the world map.
Did you go under yet? Did you go under? Because
Oh no, I don't think I have gone under yet. No, this should go
you'll
under.
see. Yeah, you should go under.
Okay, all right.
Well, that's yeah. Why does everything have to be bigger? Why does everything have to be open world for one thing? But yeah, bigger doesn't mean better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I'm like, really, what I would like is maybe a little smaller and a little more interesting.
Right. Right.
Because I don't think doubling the size of Tears of the Kingdom does anything to make the game better.
No.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but it's funny. People say this. They're surrounded by 4 or 5 other nerds who like video games, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's an interesting idea. Make the game bigger. Great idea."
I mean, it can make it bigger, but like it needs a little bit more love to make it fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing about Breath of the Wild that I felt like the world was too big. I would go, there's vast areas that it's just absolutely nothing there. And
no, I never felt that way about Breath of the Wild. I felt like they put stuff everywhere on there, but you didn't feel that way.
Well, I mean,
felt like they had.
I went through areas that didn't, and maybe I was, maybe I got there too early or I wasn't leveled up enough, but there wasn't anything there. There was nothing.
Really?
Was there anything in the background that you see that you would probably go to?
Yeah,
because I think that's
there's
how they
like
get
mountains
designed
and stuff. I mean, there's Todd Howard Mountain. If you see it, you can go to it.
Right.
But yeah, there was just a lot of places that I would maybe run into an enemy here and there. But what I mean by nothing there is that there's nothing to do. That's why when I saw the gameplay for Tears of the Kingdom, I thought if you take that world and then you put things in it that you can do aside from, there's an encampment, I'm gonna go kill everybody and take their stuff. And now you've got all of these things laying around that you can go, okay, now how do I do this? Or let me, here's a whole slew of options that I can use to do this, what I want to do, right? So that's what I mean by like nothing to do. And the same thing with like Horizon Zero Dawn, and there's these big open areas and there's just enemies in it. That's fine, but there's no that doesn't make the world better or even bigger. It's just the same thing that you just did, 2 miles behind you. That doesn't make it better.
I think what Nintendo does is they're putting encampments inside, or they're putting little like fairies that you got to chase down and get like I feel like if you go on top of a hill and you do a 360 scan, there's 3 things that you can see that like if I run over there I can get something. And
that's by design too. There's the recent video by Game Maker's Toolkit that talks about how Zelda's open world kind of solves some of these like design things regarding like
see that.
Yeah, I'll link it to you guys. I think it's a pretty good watch.
You mean aside from like crawling up a tower and
aside from
radio
that.
on and
actually that's one of the topics they talk about. Just like having the tower, like it's just not fun. But then like
so people are saying that on this one because it's interesting
in general, like towers. In general,
just open world games in general.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I remember everyone's like, "Oh, that's the Ubisoft formula where you climb up a tower and then you can see a whole bunch of maps." I'm like, "That's one of my favorite things to do in this Tears of the Kingdom is go find a tower and then hack it and then light up the map." So it's interesting to be like, "Oh, for some reason Nintendo's avoiding this criticism, which is it feels very Ubisoft to me."
Yeah, I think they definitely borrowed that from Ubisoft games. Honestly, I never had an issue with the tower.
I like the tower. I think it's fine. Yeah.
Are they fun?
It's just kind of there to me.
To me, it's fun. Oh, no. I feel like they do a good job of each tower has a problem that you have to solve in order to open up the tower. Yeah. And they do kind of put like a decent amount of varied things to prevent you from just walking in the tower, So
it's not just the same tower in a new location.
Yeah.
No, they'll a lot of times you have to look at it and be like, okay, I have to do this now instead. I
think the original Spider-Man you would go to the top of a building and get like a police radio or something, I think, and there was a little puzzle. You had to move some sliders to get like a AM station or whatever, and then it would unlock it and unlock stuff to do there. So
I guess the way to kind of use. It was kind of boring, but I think I like how they split it into 3 separate, smaller kind of sub towers in a way, because like the way he traverses in Spider-Man is like so quick. Like just going for one tower and just opening the whole section just kind of doesn't seem very like I guess impactful. So having the 3 to unlock everything in the map or that section was an interesting way to tackle that problem.
It's funny you say that because I felt like for large parts of the game I was most thinking this was Death Stranding.
Oh, okay.
Because in it you see something over there and you're like, I gotta get there, right? Like I have to use my brain a little. It's not like, I played Far Cry 6 last and it's like get in the Jeep and go towards the icon.
Yeah.
And occasionally there'll be a twist in the turn, you gotta go over a mountain, but like this is like, okay, we have to make it a little more engaging to get to your destination, right?
Yeah, I actually now that you mention it, I would say you're correct in the it's basically how you traverse, right? Traversal is an important aspect
huge.
of yeah.
I want to tell you the second improvement that the Spawncast came up with to improve the future of the franchise. Do you want me to tell you what the second big thing that everyone just clapped their hands and agreed to?
No.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Underwater sections. How to improve Zelda? Add underwater sections.
Whoa, wait, this is like a troll answer or something? Because
I kid you not, it was not a troll. People are just being real respectful to each other. And I'm like, guys, you know me. If I say something stupid, I want you to jump on me, right?
I mean, that sounds like they just want it to be a Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, because Horizon, they did. Yeah. They did do that.
Okay, no one really has. Is there any underwater section games you like? Because this was like
Turtles on the NES.
Okay.
Anyone?
I guess Abzu or something, but like.
Well, yeah. I mean, a game that's.
Oh, I have one. Serious answer. Subnautica. Subnautica's awesome.
That's what I was going to say. Right, but the game is based underwater. I mean, it's
right.
If they add that to Zelda, does that make it better?
Yeah, I don't know. You should add airplanes to Subnautica.
That'd make it a lot shorter, right?
I'm out of here.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. I we'll probably be talking about this hopefully next week with Thick because it'd be interesting to. I mean, you're the Nintendo guy, Thick. You're the Nintendo guy.
That's true. I'm dropping the ball here. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Shall we move on?
Yes.
To the news.
All right. Oh, and of course, what do you guys think should I continue doing this section? Let me do this section, and then we'll talk about it after. Before we kick things off, let's go to our listener feedback segment. Here is where listeners of the Supply Drop podcast participate in discussion by going to the Supply Drop podcast YouTube channel and dropping a question, comment, or insult. Let's go over to our listener feedback correspondent, Thick, and see what he has in store for us this week.
Let's see what's loading on the channel.
There is a new subscriber, by the way. We have our...
I've been spreading the good word at this convention, so...
Oh, good.
Yeah. You'll see. We doubled our subscriber almost.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
No, I'm not going to give the number, but we doubled.
Don't do that.
That's
that's embarrassing.
I do not see any new feedback.
All right, this week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by Netflix. We're coming for your password. We're coming for you, password shares. We'll find you and we will kill you. Now that's not a great slogan, but it's definitely appreciated that Netflix supports the show.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Netflix.
I would say it veers into the ominous, that slogan.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's jump into our news segment. Scott, save the show. Make this show a better show. What was the big news story this week?
Well, we had two. I had two segments. Now, Alan Wake 2, we saw at the, I think in 2021, I think they announced it. And then we saw a trailer for it at the PlayStation Showcase, which we'll talk about later. But Remedy has said that this is going to be a digital-only release for $59.99 price tag. It is not a $70 game. They cited that to keep that price at $59.99, they decided to go digital only.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the way I look at this is does that not just kind of confirm that digital games are cheaper to make and they should be cheaper?
I think there's a couple people's arguments against this.
I can't picture an argument. I don't think there is.
I don't think there's an argument there. If you have to send the game to production and produce 100,000 CDs and covers and paper and then ship them to stores, or just go, hey, upload this on your server, there's no argument there.
It is cheaper. No, I
Yes,
agree to that.
absolutely.
But I'm trying to remember.
Then why aren't they cheaper? It's almost like Remedy's like, hey, it's $59.99. It's digital only. That's why. And then look at I
mean, if it's
kind of
digital
like back
only,
out of the conversation, like you talk amongst
people are
yourselves.
wondering, like,
other publishers.
why can't it be lower? Is what some people are saying.
Why can't it be any lower?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem with
$60. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, but okay, so you guys don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it, right?
No, I just think it's interesting
No,
that
I buy everything digital.
Yeah. I wonder what percentage of gamers are like, no, I'm a physical only. I will not go on that store.
There's a good number. Yeah.
Like you think more than 10%?
According to the numbers, yes. According to what's purchased.
No.
What do you mean?
No, I know the numbers say like there's a certain amount of people that do buy physical still.
Oh, you're saying like I'm not buying this because it's digital?
Yeah. No,
wow.
Right.
Oh, I don't know.
I wonder if it is 10%. I don't think it is.
Why would you not? I mean, okay, look, let's break this down for when you go into a store and you buy a game, right? And you take it home and you open it and you put it in your console or whatever to play it. You didn't buy a game. You still don't own that game. It is the exact same thing as buying a digital copy of that game. You own a license to play that game. You don't own the game. If you own the game, then you can take it and, make something else from it and sell it and make more money. You don't own that game. You own a license to play that game. So when you buy a physical copy, the only difference between that physical copy and that digital copy is you can take that physical copy and take it to GameStop or whatever or another retailer and trade it or sell it. And then thus what you're doing is you're transferring the license to the next person that buys that game. So that is the only difference between these two. So if there are people that are like, I'm not buying digital because I am physical only, well, you need to start looking at, these next consoles that are coming out is very likely to not have a disk drive. It is it is a lot cheaper to produce a digital only game than a physical copy. And eventually physical copies are going to go away. We've seen this on PC. They just went away because there's no reason to have a physical copy for PC. So consoles will follow at some point.
Thick, I got a question for Thick.
Yes.
If you pulled like the Star Trek, what is it when you get teleported? If you teleported 100 random gamers, like let's say console, PC, hardcore gamers, and you put them in the room, and you said, how many of you will only purchase physical copies? How many of that 100 people do you think are gonna be like, yeah, I'm a physical only guy?
I think it's kind of hard to say, but I'd say probably a lot less than 50% at this point.
Okay, so it's pretty huge net that you just cast, right?
Yeah,
so
that would cast some PC gamers too, but I mean they don't really have a choice at this point, right?
No.
Yeah, I'm saying it's like it's one person. I think it's 1% of gamers that are physical only. I think there's a lot of people that prefer I prefer collecting these things, but I don't think there's
I think that's well, again, I think it's the perception of they think that they own the game. Like, oh, if my internet goes down, I can still play this game. No, you can't. Not if it's tied to a server. It's still
some you can.
Well, right, some you can, but that number is getting smaller and smaller, right? But and it's also having that collection, like a bookshelf. Like, when you read a book and finish it, you put it on a bookshelf. It's like, hey, there's my accomplishment. I could see that. I understand that. But again, I think that this is I don't know if this is intentional, but it's almost like Remedy's like kind of throwing this out there that's putting a spotlight on, publishers charging more for digital games when they make more money off them in production, and just citing that we've all known that digital games are cheaper. Now we've got somebody that actually said it.
Can I defend the Bobby Koticks of the world? Can I defend those people?
Please do.
I think they're looking at Alan Wake and they're like, enjoy your $50, Alan Wake. We're happy with 70. Like,
yeah. They're not. It's not like they're scared, but
I don't think they're like, how could you do this? You're making us look bad. You know? Yeah.
No, I don't think they are. I think it's just like they don't care. I'm just saying I think Remedy's kind of like, hey fellas, hey gamers, this is cheaper. Just saying that, and then just dropping the mic and walking away.
But are both you picking that up day one?
Probably not. Okay, so let's talk about the game a little bit.
Yeah, I want to see more gameplay.
Yeah.
I like the John Wick look of him.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think there's like dual protagonists, right?
It looks like you play the female FBI agent and swap between her and Alan Wake.
Yeah.
I think.
Not the agent from Control, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But that would be. They've said that these are in the same world, right?
They did.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully they'll tie it all together.
That would be really cool. But yeah, I would like to see more gameplay. The first one I was not really a fan of. I liked the story.
Same. Yeah.
I thought again it would have made a much more interesting movie. But just going around in the dark and shining a flashlight at something until I get a cue to shoot him with a shotgun just was dreadfully boring to me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people didn't like that. So you'd think that Remedy would be like, all right, how do we make it a little more interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think something like that, in a modern game is going to fly. I mean, it's everybody likes the older games. I like older games, obviously. But if you haven't played a game in 15 years and you go back and play it, it's not what you remember. Things have changed a little bit too much. So yeah, hopefully they modernize this and it brings it up to speed. But it does look good.
Yeah. Well, Thick, I know. Should we bounce to you and then bounce back to Scott?
Yeah, do your story first, and then we'll do my second one because it's kind of pertaining to that.
Okay. Well, okay. So you guys know Lord of the Rings. Gollum released this week. Yeah, heard of it. Rumor has it, right? It released this week. And it released to critical failure, I guess. I don't want to be too harsh on it, but
no,
it's not looking good.
It bombed terribly.
Yeah, so if we look at the open critic rating, it received a 40% score for, like critic rating, right? Critic average.
That's rough.
Yeah. 40?
40, yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
4% of critics recommend it. Yeah. I believe this is the lowest rated game of this year.
Yeah.
Sorry, Redfall, you can't win at that one either.
Yeah, Redfall. They screwed that up too.
No, I feel bad for both of them, but this is just it's how it is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say it's kind of not a surprise to an extent, but I was hoping it would be better.
We also got the JPEG on Twitter. We're sorry we made a bad game. Aren't you guys getting tired of those? I'm just really getting kind of sick of that.
This one felt a little empty, but I don't think English is their first language either.
No, it's not. It's but still, I mean, how about if I bought it, how about give me my money back?
Yeah.
If you feel that bad about it.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're gonna there's gonna be like easy refunds for all the stores where it's at.
I don't know. So so should I go into mine?
Yeah, go
ahead.
This the developer Daedalic, I guess.
Daedalic.
Yeah, they're actually working on another Lord of the Rings title, according to a €2 million German government grant. So they got a German government grant to make another Lord of the Rings game. What do you think the odds of this even getting?
Is this like a Skull and Bones situation?
What? Never heard of that game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if this is. I don't know when they got this grant. I can only assume that they got this before they shipped Gollum.
Yeah.
And usually grants you don't have to return them, but I don't know. I don't know. I can't really see them. Who owns Lord of the Rings? It's Embracer Group, right?
Amazon.
I think so. Amazon.
Amazon owns the
TV rights or something.
Like literal rights or I don't know. There's two different rights. So it gets really confusing, but
I feel like the owner of the franchise itself should like kind of step up, right? Because this is pretty
It's
in a
still
way
it's still
damaging,
the
right?
Tolkien family, yeah.
Yeah, it's damaging to the name.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, even the publisher is probably going to be, and that's Embracer Group. I think owns the Lord of the Rings game license. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't give them. I wouldn't even give them anything to make. You know. So I don't know. I don't think we'll see another game from them. I'm just going to throw that out there. But yeah, they did get €2 million from the German government to make the second game.
€2 million. Do you know what that equivalent is in dollars? Is it similar?
Right now, I think it's like it's probably like about 1.6 million.
Okay, so that doesn't seem like that much. It doesn't seem like that much.
No, I mean it's government grant. You usually don't get everything you need. You just get a little bit, but that's. I mean, how much do you think it cost for them to make this game? This game was in production for like 5 years.
The developers of that game need to pocket that money and get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
So I did hear the one redeeming factor to the game was probably the audio, is what some people have said.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But from what I saw with the gameplay, it was like, when he's even doing platforming, there's this weird. It's very janky. From what I saw. Yeah.
They have DLC that gives a better voiceover to, like, I guess the narrator of the story, or
like they used the Elvish
something
dialect,
and for like $6 you can add a better voiceover. Like this is the DLC that they're selling. This is
interesting.
This whole thing just looks like a total scam.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This makes me mad. It just really does. I mean,
I can hear it. I can hear it in your voice.
We deserve better than this, especially from a Lord of the Rings title.
Yeah.
And again, I said it when they announced it. Nobody wants to play Gollum. I mean, it's just,
I want to push back on that.
Character. Well, the stories, if you watch the reviews, I watched like 3 or 4 reviews of this thing, and it's not even Gollum's story. It's not even his.
What do you mean?
He is like just the backdrop is the actual story with the other characters that are in the game. So it's not really, you're not really playing through Gollum's story. You're just as Gollum in the world, like listening to these other stories that are part of Lord of the Rings. So again, it doesn't even,
because I've heard a lot of games media, what they just echoed what you just said, like who wants to play Gollum in Lord of the Rings? And I'm like, well, who wants to play like a guy who has to transport a girl in a zombie apocalypse? Like it's just like who. I think there's you can say that, you can kind of phrase who wants to do this and describe a lot of video games, and you're like, well, yeah, I guess when you say it like that. But I'm like, if you gave a super talented developer, like, hey, you're gonna play Gollum's story. Like Gollum has an interesting story, like who he represents.
Like Telltale. I mean? That would be an excellent Gollum game. I bet they could just nail it. Lord of the Rings title. I mean, a franchise. Gollum as the main character. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I see what you're saying. I agree with that. If you give it to somebody that can make a good story, tell his story. Yeah. In that type of way.
Hideo Kojima would be amazing Gollum game.
I could see that. Transporting, Death Stranding style game.
The ring. He's transporting the ring.
Yeah.
No, he's just like in a little bubble inside of Frodo's chest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Right. Anyway, let's get as far away from this game as we possibly can.
All right, so it doesn't sound like either of you are picking this up or in a rush to pick this up.
No.
On sale. Game Pass.
Maybe when that voiceover goes on discount. Maybe it's a $3 voiceover.
Let's get the Game of the Year edition first.
Right.
Right.
Worst Game of the Year edition. I wonder if that may be a thing now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels bad, but yeah.
All right, let's get into the the final news story, which was a day before I was flying high. I was like Icarus. I was about to touch the sun because I had a great event that washed over my body. A day before the Red Wedding.
You were burned.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I was burned the day after. Sony held a special keynote for investors where it outlined its growth strategy and shared some business plans. So they released, I don't know, 20 to 30 slides I picked out the 3 most interesting slides that hopefully we can chew off the bone a little bit. So I'll just get into the first one. Number 1, PlayStation's goal is to release 2 or more major games per year. That's their goal. That's not a lot.
No.
2 or more? You know they're not hitting that goal all the time, right?
Yeah,
No.
I guess. I guess one could be a VR game.
I mean, they've got 2 this year that we know of.
Which would be Final Fantasy and Spider-Man?
Spider-Man, right.
Right.
But wait. Are we talking about them releasing it, like published as a first party?
I think what they're saying is our first party is going to produce 2, hopefully, per year. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting how, like, you know, I say this all the time. I'm like, games take an eternity to make now.
Yeah, Xbox said the same thing.
Well, right, and it does. I know at one point Xbox was like, we would like to do a major release once a quarter. Remember they said like 4?
Yeah,
that was. I thought that was maybe their goals after the Activision deal, but
they are at least releasing smaller titles within the quarter usually so far.
Right. Now, right, that's true. Now, I don't think PlayStation cares about smaller titles, right?
No.
I think they're like we're
it needs to have 2 hours of cinematic minimum.
Yeah.
Every 30 seconds.
Every 30 seconds. All right, slide number 2. By fiscal year 2025, PlayStation is planning on investing 50% into new IP and 50% into established IP. Contrast that to fiscal year 2019, where it was 20% new IP and 80% established IP. Can I speak for the group and say that this is good news?
Yeah, that is good to hear. Yeah.
So all 3 of us generally prefer new IP. Is that true?
Well, I think their franchises are reaching the same state as what Xbox One has. It's like, another Gears, another.
I know,
I don't
right?
want another Horizon, right? In a way, right?
No, you're gonna get another Horizon.
I'm sure they're making 3. They're not making Killzone, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think that 3 is the magic number. We're going to see probably another. We're going to see Spider-Man 3. We're going to see God of War 3. We're going to see Horizon, 3. So, after that though, they have to be looking beyond that. I mean, they're buying these other studios to make these, games of service titles. So,
well, I guess
both.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my 3rd slide, which this was the high point of my week. I could not get higher when I saw this slide. I got excited. I passed out. I passed out with excitement, but it was this. It said this
every one of
them
them's extraction.
PlayStation is planning on investing 60% into live service games and 40% into traditional games by fiscal year 2025. This is a 10% swing from last year's goal when they said it was, I think, 55 to 45. Right? So sometime over the past year, they're like, actually, let's crank it up even more towards live service. Obviously,
the sliders,
the internet went nuts. Because I feel like, gaming internet, I always tell you this, it's always single-player focused gamers go on the internet.
How did they go nuts?
Yeah.
They're just like, Jim Ryan, he's going to crash PlayStation into the side of a cliff. They say things like, these games as a service games, it's just a crapshoot thick. It's just random luck that any of them are good.
I don't know. Live service, the word live service just triggers a lot of people at this point.
Right. I think it triggers. Yeah. Does it trigger either of you? Be honest. Be open.
It does not have a negative connotation to me, like some people seem to think.
And it doesn't mean what it used to. That doesn't necessarily mean like Diablo 4. That's a live service game.
Service.
Right. And that's kind of like, well, good, because I want to be playing it for a while.
Right.
But to have every game as a live service, that becomes an issue.
Now, right now it's 60-40, so it's not every game.
So that they realize that. If they realize that these live service games, that you can't have everyone on a live service game there's diminished returns, right? You got so many people have so much time and so much money to spend on these games. They're going to spend it mostly with the the most popular one being Fortnite, and then that pie chart gets slivers all the way around. So it's if they realize that, and it sounds like they are from this, then don't put all your, don't put all your money on live service games.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not going to pay off.
So I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
If we were looking at the same sort of report from Microsoft, what would it look like? What would the balance be?
Jeez.
Good. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. It's kind of hard to tell right now.
Yeah, we should know more. We should know more in a couple
Yeah.
weeks, right?
Yeah.
I would guess, though, that it seems closer to 50-50. Maybe even... could it be that they're leaning single player?
I think to me, okay, it feels like it's going to be like 60 for single and 40 for...
I could see that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they have very meaty one-player or single-player games they can have. So, like Skyrim. Skyrim. Starfield. Yeah. And I'm sure Valve is the same.
Yeah, but they do bank really heavily on multiplayer. Not necessarily live service, but... And again, I don't want to confuse multiplayer and live service. You can have a multiplayer game that's not live service. Hey, like Redfall.
Okay. Scott, other than Redfall, what's the last multiplayer game that was not a live service? Because I don't agree with that. I don't see any multiplayer games that aren't live service anymore.
Well, the Starship Troopers doesn't look like it's going to be a live service. Now, that can turn into a live service, but now it just looks like a fun multiplayer game.
Right. I can see that.
But what? Yeah. Again, that has to be, if you've got a multiplayer game and you get new maps, does that make it a live service game, or does that just make it a multiplayer game with,
No, that's the thing, right? Like, what constitutes live service?
Yeah,
what is the exact meaning? It's very broad.
No, I have the definition.
Okay.
Any game that continually gets supported and updated after customer buys it, after release, right?
So then, Deep Rock Galactic. You only
live
get
service.
Okay, but there's no real battle pass you pay for.
I hear this a lot online. I don't think it has anything to do with the battle pass. I don't think it has to do with seasons.
I know. But yeah, it's just DLC cosmetic. I guess that's it. I guess
just getting a constant feed of content.
Yeah, and I think Deep Rock Galactic get more than just cosmetics. I think they're getting. They're getting. Yeah, they're getting new enemies. They're getting new objective types, I think.
Yeah, they change it up every so often.
Right.
So that's not a bad thing.
No, I think it's a bad thing to people. And I find this fascinating because I feel like I could be going crazy. By the way, stop me if I'm going crazy. I feel like single-player gamers, when they see the prevalence of this live service stuff, they're just like, that's multiplayer. I'm going to hate it. I'm gonna hit it with the flamethrower.
Well, I think that comes from Overwatch and Battlefront 2 and all of these games that are just egregious with their loot boxes and all this.
They don't do live service right. Right.
Yeah. So it's more of like a casino.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny though when you say Overwatch, I'm like, I really enjoyed my time with Overwatch. Like I felt like that was a great game. I didn't care about the loot boxes at the time.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I feel like the story of Overwatch was like a really fun hero-based 5 or 6-on-6 game.
I think people really forget how the loot box. They didn't even mention loot box when they announced Overwatch. It was or if they did, no one really knew. It's only until you started, you turned on the game and then you scrolled to this specific menu that you found loot boxes. It was never mentioned in any of the
it wasn't really a big deal either.
Yeah. Because people like the game. People like the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do read on the internet all the time. They're like, I don't like the genre of live service, right? And I'm like, it's not a genre. It's a payment model.
Yeah.
Right? There's racing games. There's fighting games. There's shooters. Those are genres. But it's funny how
strategies to live service too. So.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Loot boxes, battle passes. Right. All right, so I was ecstatic seeing that 60-40 split. It sounds like you guys don't. You didn't get triggered by seeing that.
No.
Right.
I just want to see what they release.
Right.
I'm sure with Sony, most things will be high production or whatever, and hopefully they can produce some good multiplayer games, which I haven't really seen too many from Sony yet, right?
And it feels like we'll get to that later, but it feels like we're kind of far away.
Yeah, maybe
we're
10 years
far
from
away.
now.
Oh my gosh. All right. Guys, we have a rumor mill section, and this week's rumor mill has 5 decent rumors in it.
Okay.
Round of applause. Can we get a round of applause, please? Thank you.
It's quiet. You can't hear it.
I'll take it. Rumor number 1, and I guess I'm gonna be, as I'm reading this up, one of my eyes is gonna be looking at thick. According to Nate Drake, Persona 6 is coming late 2024. Persona 3 is coming late 2023. I said 2024, right?
Wait, Persona 3?
So Persona 6 coming late 2024. Persona 3, apparently a remake is coming at the end of this year. And then a Persona 5 spin-off is also coming in 2024. Thick, are you a fan of these Persona games?
I have a lot of friends that are, and I've been meaning to get into them. It's just I haven't gotten around. They're meaty games. That's the thing. I have friends.
They're huge. They're huge games.
Yeah, I have friends that say they play it yearly. In fact,
really?
I met someone at the con that says he plays it yearly, not weekly. Sorry.
Okay.
So there are big fans of the game, and I've been meaning to try it. So.
Yeah, I know Persona 4 and 5 were like definitely critical darlings. Both north of 90 Metacritics. Right?
Yeah, I remember 4. Like it had multiple releases. I think like.
Yeah. Gold and Persona 4 Gold, and then they Persona 4 fighting game. Yeah.
I'm not to me, I'm not a fan of that. Where they basically just make it. Yeah, they just give you an alternative version and just sell it for full price.
The golden versions always seem to be better. Everyone's like, this is the definite version. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it works, I guess. I can't bag on it. I guess if it works, whatever.
Yeah. It's funny too because I feel like that was, back during Persona 2, Persona 3 era. That was such a niche franchise.
Oh, I mean, it kind of shows you that sometimes it takes a while for things to pick up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe Redfall 3. It'll be the game.
Yeah, right.
Don't put that out there.
Yeah. All right, rumor number 2. According to RPK Gaming, who is allegedly a known movie leaker, The Last of Us Part 3 is in development. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I've heard this as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're planning on doing season 2 of the HBO show. Right?
Well, yeah, that was pretty obvious. Yeah.
And if this game is coming, this is a 2025 or 2026 game. Then I guess the only reason why I care about this rumor is I'm like, I guess that multiplayer game is going to get made if they're still continuing on with this franchise, right?
What's the one? Is this going to be one of the rumors where like there's supposed?
Yeah. Let me.
Yeah, let's go to the next.
Let me bounce through this. We'll get this. Rumor number 3. According to job listings, the next Deus Ex is looking for developers who have experience working on co-op games. Scott, co-op Deus Ex. Is this your bag?
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost sounds like could be like Redfall.
Well, okay, any game could be like Redfall. I mean, you
like
you just got to put
like a more traditional Deus Ex game with an open world and multiple people. I think that would be.
You're in.
Yeah, corporate espionage.
I'm skeptical of it, to be honest. But yeah,
wait, say it again, Thick. Say it again.
I'm a little skeptical because like to design like this openness and how you approach the world, 2 people is a lot harder than just one.
It kind of feels like
20 people just solving one light bulb puzzle.
It's going to be a live service.
It's like Starship Troopers Extraction. Deus Ex, everyone just shooting.
Everyone runs the same terminal. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Hack the same terminal.
Yeah.
I got it. Let's get out of here. No, I don't know. That would be really cool. But yeah, there's got to be more details to that to determine if that's going to be a good idea or not.
I feel like if it's a co-op game from the ground up, I'm interested in it. If it's like, it's single player and co-op, I'm less interested in it.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right, rumor number 4, and Scott, you got to help me out with this one. All right.
Okay.
Colin Moriarty says, "quote I've heard from people I know that I think it's fairly obvious that there will be another showcase later in the year. It's going to be this is what I wrote. It's going to be a state of play. Colin I don't know why I wrote this, but Colin lost his mind. He was raving about Okay, never mind. All right, so
Yeah, he has lost his mind.
So, tell me, Scott, why has Colin lost his mind?
Well, I think in the same podcast, his podcast, he stated he went on kind of like a little tangent about how they were talking about the showcase, and he was saying how, there really weren't many exclusives shown, and he said they weren't important. He said that exclusives aren't important.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of tickles me because this is the guy that always says exclusives are important when it comes to Sony. And they are when it comes to Sony. I mean, I think they are when they come to Sony. But it's funny that this guy just totally flipped after seeing this showcase. So if he's saying there's something else after this, or anything he says after this, I don't buy it. I don't think he knows what he's talking about.
Okay, we'll wait for him to say exclusives matter.
Well, it's not that. It's just that he, it goes with whatever the narrative is. And if he's going to do that, then if he has information that is supposedly insider information, but he's going to say stuff like that, to me that loses a lot of credibility to what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't, and we'll get into it later, but if you can't, if your favorite game manufacturer has a bad show and you can't call them out on that, then who are you? What's your place in all of this?
Right.
So,
there's two avenues we could go down here. One is should we talk about if exclusives do matter, and do you guys like exclusives, or was he kind of right?
I don't
like, is new Colin right?
I mean, it's the first thing he said I've ever agreed with that they don't matter in the sense of all exclusives, right?
Yeah.
They definitely matter to Sony. Sony has built their gaming company on exclusives. That's what they do, and that's what they still do, and that's what they're gonna do. It absolutely matters to them, and it matters to the people that own a PlayStation. That's what they buy it for. As a whole, no, I think that exclusives. I think that there's room to put other games on other formats, and I think that it's, especially when we get away from the hardware, it's not going to matter as much. That's the same, and Sony agrees because they're putting their games on PC. That it just makes them more money, and it's more accessible to other people. But
I know, I'm playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom this week, and it did cross my my mind multiple times where I'm like, I would rather be playing this with the PS5 controller on a TV.
Yeah.
Maybe 60 frames per second, just touch up the graphics a little bit.
And
I'm like, I think right.
You could play at 120 frames a second.
Right. But I know and I actually don't really care about the visuals. I think the game is a pretty looking game, and I think it's it runs pretty well. But those freaking nubs, those little nipples that you have to use on the Switch,
I can't stand them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Later we're going to talk about, Sony has a new streaming handheld, and I'm like, that thing looks awesome. It looks like a PS5 controller.
Right.
Cut in half.
Yeah, cut in half with the tablet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that, but at least it feels like it's going to be comfortable in both your hands, and you're going to be able to shoot people in the head with, the right thumbstick.
If you have a PlayStation controller and that's what you're used to, if you pick this up, it's going to be seamless.
Right. And I do know, let's get back to Colin real quick. So I listen to Colin, I kind of like, I don't hate listen to it. I like everyone. So I'm when I say that, I'm using, artistic language. But he for the past, I don't know, as long as I've listened to him, he has despised multiplayer games. And in the show, when he's going over the PlayStation Showcase, you should hear him talk about that Fair Games, that Haven Studio Fair Games. He's like, oh, it looks really cool. It looks like a heist game,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what happened to the Colin that I used to know?
I know.
and not only that, but Colin is smart enough to know, like, CGI trailers mean nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's just garbage. It's just like,
oh my God, I can't wait to talk about the showcase.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's go.
All right.
Next rumor.
Oh wait. Do you have one more? Okay, go ahead.
I have one more. This was the juicy one. So according to Bloomberg, I'm not even going to say the author's name, all right? According to Bloomberg, Naughty Dog's Factions development has slowed to a crawl as Sony assesses its quality and long-term viability, according to 4 people close to the project. Apparently, Bungie was asked to assess the project, and it didn't meet certain viability expectations.
Maybe they're doing, was it Blizzard's strategy of, was it crawl, walk, run?
I don't know that. Explain that to me.
Was it the Overwatch director said that? What they were doing? You know, like what happened with Overwatch, that they had a crawl. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like a prolonged development cycle, right?
Yeah. But
okay.
It's partly a joke. I don't even know what's going on with that development.
Okay. All right. So now I said earlier, and Scott gave me a funny look. I said, this game's probably still coming out. Scott, I don't think you think it is anymore.
No, I think it's probably going to come out. I think there's a 50-50 chance now that it gets canceled. I'm just going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, Bungie. I mean, they're lucky enough to have some people that know how to live service a game. I mean, they practically invented it. And for them to come in and say that this isn't going to fly. It's pretty devastating. But again, this is a rumor. But if they said, okay, look, this is what you've got to do. You've got to change this, this, and this, and you've got to make this and this and this. I can't see them coming in and go, no, this won't work. Later, we're going to lunch. You want Subway? They probably sat down with them and talked about what to do. Well, at that point, we don't know how long this has been. We don't know where this was in development. And this could just be, where they go and they just kind of back up a step and rebuild it in this new, live service way. I actually think that if it does release because of this, it will probably be a better game, a much better game.
Right.
Naughty Dog has never made this game before. Anybody remember Anthem? BioWare did not. They've never made a game like that before. Well, yeah. I mean, God, that's barely a game. So this could have been the same. This could have had the same effect. When BioWare was making Anthem, you know what word they were forbidden to say anywhere in the studio?
What?
Destiny.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nobody wanted to hear that. The management was like, if you say that, you're fired.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So here's Naughty Dog, and then Bungie comes in and goes, "Hey, if they help them with this, I think this is exciting. I think it's better." But the way that the rumor is that they came in and went, "This is crap." Right. It's like, okay. So I don't know. So I don't know how much truth there is. I would hope that there is truth to it. Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
All speculation at this point.
And even if it's not a rumor, maybe Sony should get some guys from Bungie to go up there and take a look at it and see what what they've got. So
maybe it should be an extraction shooter too.
I think it already is, isn't it? Isn't it
Probably.
something?
Yeah, it felt like it was, right?
Yeah.
Seemed like it. Yeah.
Well, all we know about it is they released 2 concept arts, and each of the images had like 2 players on it, two characters. So it's like, could it have been a weird co-op game?
Well,
I don't know.
No.
I'm hoping that they are making Last of Us 3. I don't care because I hate Last of Us 2, but that will take Neil Druckmann's, between the show and that, it will take him away from this game. And if he's away from that game, it will make it a much better game.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't
I don't think Druckmann was attached to this game. I remember when he went up on the Keeleys and he said these are the creative leads on the project.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So right now you're 50-50. I guess I'm over 50-50 on it whether this comes out, but it does seem like this is a 2027 game, 2026.
I think this will come out, but it'll be near the end.
But maybe it'll be better now. That would be great.
Right. The most important thing in a live service game is if it's fun after hour 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
All games are fun for the first 5 hours. All games are fun. Easy.
Right.
That's a lie.
Sure.
Even Gollum is fun for the first 5 to 10 hours.
The game is less than 5 hours long. Actually, I don't even know.
Right. All right. Guys, let's get to our big talk. Oh, no, go ahead, Scott.
Can I interject one more that came out like yesterday?
Yeah.
Apparently, Sony is buying CD Projekt Red.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I avoided this one for you, Scott, but you brought it up here.
What is the source? I forget.
I don't know, Twitter.
No, the
I
source
saw it
is
everywhere. Yeah. Do you know the actual original source? I don't.
All I know is the source. I don't know if it was a Destiny leaker. The person leaking or saying this had a decent reputation, but how I interpret it is that, like, it was just an offhanded joke or just something stupid.
It's got to be because they're not. They're super independent and they have their own game service. So
right.
I mean, that would benefit Sony on the, I guess, the PC side with having GOG. But yeah,
and CD Projekt Red is worth $3.01 billion as of this month.
So is that Bungie sized?
That's what they bought Bungie for, is $3 billion.
Right around there, right? Yeah.
So who knows?
Actually, I'm surprised they're that low. I thought they would be.
I know, right? I would have thought that would have been a
$5 billion
at least. Something.
Do you guys want to pool money together and see if we can give a crack at it?
I would love to own Bungie. Yeah. Oh my God, so many changes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's get into our big talk.
Yes.
Okay. Our big talk. It was a great. Our big talk is obviously the PlayStation Showcase that happened last week, right?
Yeah.
Huge.
So quickly before we get started, I think listeners need to know the type of people they're dealing with on this podcast. If you remember, I asked both of you 5 questions to make predictions on this show. Do you want to know what the results were with your answers? Can we go over this?
Yeah, let's.
Can we go over this?
I don't remember.
Because
I don't remember either.
these same people are going to be doing predictions on the Xbox show, and I just want listeners to know who they're dealing with. Okay.
Ouch.
Yeah. Question number 1 was, there will be 3 or more PlayStation first-party live service games at the show. You both said no. You were both wrong.
Yep.
There were 3, right?
Yep.
There were 3.
There were 3, yes.
You kind of
wrong is wrong.
Edged that one. Okay.
Wrong is wrong. All right. Number 2, there will be a brand new roguelite game revealed at the show. Scott said yes. Thick said yes. You were both incorrect.
True.
There was no roguelite.
Yeah.
Now, number 3, you can pat yourselves on the back for this one. Will PlayStation spend more than 10 minutes on PSVR 2 exclusive content? You both said no. You were both correct because I did the timestamps. They spent 6 minutes and 35 seconds on VR 2.
That sounds correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, but now don't get too high on yourself because we're going back.
All right.
We're going back down. Number 4. Will there be a surprise brand new third-party exclusive revealed at the show? Scott said yes. Thick said yes. I don't think there was. I went down that list. I didn't see one.
No, there wasn't.
And number 5, this was probably your biggest. This is your biggest mistake. Will we see Jim Ryan's beautiful face at the show? You both said no, and we saw gorgeous Jim Ryan.
On. We haven't seen him do anything in
unbelievable
since he first took the job. So
I was correct at least.
He probably just heard our he heard our podcast. He's like, oh yeah.
Gotta make it showing.
These guys. That's right.
When you guys, go ahead, Thick. Go ahead.
The end of showing was a little bit like, it was so corporate. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of, it wasn't worth him showing up.
I disagree. I disagree completely. So here's how bad I disagree. when you handed in a paper at school and you got 1 out of 5 right, what would the teacher write on top of your
See how did it make you class?
See me after class. That's right. So after the podcast, I'm gonna talk to both of you in a stern voice. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
This can't happen again. All right.
My answer was AI generated, by the way. So.
Wait, what do you mean?
That's
what was your answer? It was the answer. Okay. All right. I guess here's the question. Right after the show, I asked you guys to grade the PlayStation Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we graded it right after the show. I want to revisit this. Me and Thick.
Can we say it individually? We say ours? Or...
Well, yeah, of course. So me and Thick at the time gave it a B-. I think Scott said C or C+, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that the dust has settled, are you guys changing your score at all? I am changing it lower.
Yeah, I think I do want to change mine. Yeah.
Okay.
Higher or lower?
Oh, lower. Yeah.
I'd go a straight C on mine now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, what about you?
I'm going D+.
D+. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
See me after class.
All right. And Thick, what about you? Did yours change?
I'm sticking with my B-.
All right.
Really?
Interesting. Wait. Let's dive into this. Thick, what did you like about the show? What were you like? What saved the show? What kind of buoyed the show?
I mean, honestly, it's partly because I kind of expected them to not have too much. I was a little disappointed that they didn't have Wolverine. But I thought like overall the show was fine. Like it was lacking some content, but I didn't feel a need to be knocked down to the sea.
I do think expectations played a large part because it's been 2 years since PlayStation. I mean, it's funny, we still don't know what 2024 looks like for PlayStation.
So like I kind of call what we're going through the end of phase 1 of PS5, right? Where they just kind of unloaded all their big guns, so and that's kind of what we're seeing. So I kind of
but didn't that make you think like, okay, we're at the end of the first salvo, like we're about to see like the fleet, the new salvo, like we're about to see 8 amazing PlayStation first party games?
I didn't expect 8. That's the thing. They did. I think what they showed enough new stuff to where I was interested enough. Like but I know with was it Fair Games? I'm not too interested in.
I got to talk to you about this.
Yeah, we're going to have to like go down the list of these individually because they're
All right. So who has all I put on my list is 6 games because I said to myself, there's really only 6. Go ahead.
Why did you guys lower it even further? Is it
I lowered it even further because I felt like when I was watching the show, we're in the Discord, making comments, making very witty comments to each other. I really want to congratulate you guys on that.
Okay.
But like it was a fun experience. Like it's a fun hour, and then at the end of the hour, I guess I gave it a B- because I'm like I had fun during that hour. Like it wasn't as great as I thought, but I had fun.
It's because of us, right?
I think you guys saved the PlayStation show.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, there you go.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan thanks you.
Yeah.
And then Scott, why did you lower it?
Well, it just started to look at the titles that were shown, and most of them are multiplat. I mean, didn't. If you know that, if I had known that going in and watching the show, it wouldn't have felt like a PlayStation show. If I owned a PlayStation 5, which I don't, full disclosure, obviously, I would be even more upset that, where's the Sony show? We got Spider-Man 2 and we got gameplay of that and it looked fine. But then we got a movie trailer for Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
everything else is on everything else. So, but as a non-owner of PlayStation, so I may have to give like 2 scores because if you look at it as multiplat, like, oh, look at this cool stuff I'm going to play on PC, it gives a little bit higher score. But as a Sony PlayStation, as the PlayStation Showcase, it wasn't. I would be upset if I was in that ecosystem. I don't think it was. I don't think they delivered.
So Scott, to a certain extent, were you kind of hoping PlayStation knocked your socks off and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm a PC gamer. Like, I would love to have a PS5." Is that what you're kind of hoping for?
No, I don't ever hope for that. But
that's interesting.
I want to see what Sony is doing because anything that they've got that's first party eventually will be on PC.
Right.
I was excited to see what they have. What I thought was going to show like well into 2024.
Yeah.
Which we all know is going to be remaster, remake, and then another remaster. So, but it felt like Xbox's show last year, where they didn't really show anything we haven't seen that was coming to Xbox, and then everything else was multiplat. That's what I felt like with this one. So it just didn't really feel like it was. It didn't. As me not owning a PS5, it really did not. It didn't sell it to me. It didn't convince me to get one. Yeah. So that's why I gave it a lower score.
All right, so I wrote down 6 games on the list because I felt like the only 6 games kind of mattered. Okay. Did either of you write a bigger list? Should we go through a bigger list, or
no? I just figured we'd go through all of them. There really wasn't that many games that were shown. So
I think I saw 35 games were shown.
35?
They did say that.
It doesn't even seem like that.
I think a lot of filler games don't lodge in your long-term memory. They're just they're in and out, All right, Thick, introduce us to the PlayStation Showcase. Tell us how tell us what you want to talk about.
What was the first one? That was the Haven's game,
right? I think it was
right?
Fair Games, right?
Fair Games.
Fair Games was the first one.
Can we get into this?
Yeah,
we can get into it. I thought I don't like that cinematic. Like you're just kind of just telling, oh hey, we're making this game.
Yeah.
And like
it looked like Cyberpunk Payday.
Cyberpunk Payday. Yeah.
I feel like the tone of it is very similar to that one driving game they released. I can't remember the name.
Drive Club?
No, Destruction All Stars.
Yeah.
Like a little bit like that.
It also reminded me of what's that game that Hyenas or
yeah,
the one
Hyenas Sega.
Yeah. That I mean, as far as like what the game is, it kind of looks like that one as well.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm scouring the internet, listening to or reading people's comments to this. I'm seeing that comment all the time where they're like, it looks like I wrote it down here. It looks like Hyenas. It looks like what's that Embark game? I think Sky. They say it looks like the finals. And a lot of people are like, this looks like a crappy Ubisoft game, right? And I understand people kind of criticizing the game because of that. And I'm like, I don't think multiplayer gamers give a crap about the looks of the game.
But this is all we have to go with.
I know it's true, but it's like you will see a lot of people. You'll see a lot of people say like, "Oh, this game's gonna fail because it looks like all the other games," and I'm like, "Well,
yeah, that's kind of silly.
I even wrote this. I wrote, Mafia kind of looks like Grand Theft Auto, which kind of looks like, what are some other open world games?
Saints Row.
Like, yeah, Saints Row. I'm like, it's crazy to be like, just because this heist game looks like this heist game, which looks like this heist game, that they're all gonna play identical, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's always been something I don't like about the internet. Everything people just call things clones when really that's just really reductive.
Yeah, but it actually is. It's not their fault. I mean, they're just dumb.
True.
They showed us a CGI of a gameplay that really didn't make a lot of sense, and then gave us a title. That's all we got. What do they think? How do they think that is?
It's weird.
Causing like any kind of interest in that game whatsoever. Did anybody go away from that thinking, "Oh my God, I can't wait to figure out or find out what Fair Games is"? What?
Right.
Does anybody do? I toss those away like they're nothing, because if it doesn't give me any kind of exposition of the story or what's going on in it, just forget it. Just give me a gameplay trailer.
Last year at the Xbox show, there was a heist game,
right?
Yeah, Contraband, same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now I guess I don't remember the fervor against Contraband, and I think probably was it already 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago. Yeah,
I don't remember
the context of the Xbox.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's it. I think if you're surrounded by decent trailers that show gameplay, that's one thing. We didn't see a lot of gameplay at this showcase, right?
Right.
Yeah, Contraband, like, I'm not really excited for it, but I would like to see more of it. I mean, I would also like to see more of this game, but to start off your showcase with that, I don't think it was a great choice.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Would it have been okay if they started with that showcase and then they had a 30-second gameplay, like, supercut? Yeah. Where you're like, oh, that's actually what they
of course.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, gameplay is way better than CGI, period.
Yeah.
Like, don't even bother making the CGI trailer. Like, just save your money.
I know.
Just show us gameplay.
But to counter that point, all these developers do it, and they do it for a reason, right? They're doing it because they're looking at their coffers, you'd say, and it works for them for some reason. I don't get how it works for them. It gets people
interested, and it gets people invested in the game, and it's all marketing and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Haven is part of Sony now is what gives people interest in it as well. Right.
Sure, but I mean, we won't see anything else about this game for another 2 years. So,
this feels like and it's gonna get delayed, so it's 2.5 years.
Yep, toss it.
I will say this. So I'm kind of interested in Haven because I felt like everything that I was hearing about the studio was like, oh, we're going to make a really social game. We're doing crazy cloud stuff. We're like, it felt like kind of a studio that like wanted to be on the bleeding edge a little bit.
Yeah, I interpret it.
And then I saw this, and I'm like, well, that does, even though you don't know about it, that does look like a kind of a standard heist PvP heist game, right?
Yeah, it's not really pushing any of the buttons that they were saying.
Unless they come back and go, that was gameplay.
Yeah. Right, right.
Like, oh, wow. Yeah. They said the same thing about, what's the studio making Perfect Dark? The
initiative.
Yeah, initiative. Yeah. I mean, they touted the same thing. We're going to put this super duper quadruple A studio together, and we're going to do this and this and this. And, I mean, I don't believe that. Just, show your work.
Yeah.
Show your work. We're back in school again. Show your work.
School is a theme right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing that I wanted to bring up on this is like, all right, they used a lot of gadgets in the trailer, and I'm down with gadgets. I like gadget gameplay, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously it sounds like, early on in the trailer it said like 15 registered players, so it sounds like it might be 5 teams of 3 are going in. And then it also looked like that trailer started with them like outside of a compound, then they like break through a fence, and I'm like, okay, I could kind of picture a pretty large map size then, right? Ideally.
Potentially. It really depends how they structure it, right? Because if you're starting from the outside and it's just one single building, I don't, like how you look at heat maps is
right.
Is there really going to be much action outside of it? Is there going to be some sort of chasing? Right. I'm curious if that's the case, how would they approach it?
Right. Right. I know in the description they say they want to explore what like a sandbox PvP is, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Sandboxy gameplay. Now, granted, a lot of people say sandbox, right?
Yeah, that's gonna set up some expectations. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right. We will see. All right. The next title, and I'm only gonna do 6, so jump in if you're gonna do this. But the next title they showed was Helldivers 2. I cried. I cried. You guys couldn't hear me because I went to the bathroom to cry.
I would like to know more. Yes.
Okay, this trailer depressed me to no end, though.
What?
Because this trailer looked like a PC mod for the original Helldivers. It looked like some solo kid.
Wait. Are you talking about the visuals or like what?
It looked like some solo kid said like, oh, if I can put the camera in Helldivers like down here, like I'm gonna get an A on my school project. I just felt like the visuals looked like garbage. It looked like a PS4 game. I watched that trailer.
It's coming to PS4.
I know, but I feel Horizon Forbidden West also came to PS4, and that looked phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
This didn't look like Horizon Forbidden West.
Looks like an N64 game.
It looks like an N64 game. It does. But I watched that trailer multiple times, and first of all, can we just say, did you guys notice how bland the maps were?
Yeah.
The maps were just wide open spaces.
Pretty wide open,
Nothing interesting in the geography, right?
Yeah, well, almost kind of expected, how like the game is. There's like buildings in between, which is fine. I think actually if they put buildings in between, they could amp up the graphics a little bit more, right?
But show us those. Show us a little glimpse of it
this year.
I know. All right.
I do want to play the game. I like
to.
Yeah. One thing I need. They said enlist today, and I thought it was the shadow drop, but I was a little disappointed that it wasn't dropping the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It's been in development a long time.
It wasn't. I think it came on the Steam page the next day.
Yeah.
I think it was delayed in some way, so I don't know.
I'm happy that it is day one PC. So.
Right. Also, to note, there was no UI in the trailer, so it didn't even look far along. I felt like it looked so drab.
Yeah.
And real quick, I watched that trailer I watched that trailer like 4 times. I even slowed it down, and every like kind of unique, not unique, but every gameplay like little mechanism was lifted from the first Helldivers. So there's like a 3-second point where a guy has a backpack and he's shooting these rockets, and another player's like feeding it into the back.
Right.
I'm like, that's what we all did in the first Helldivers, but they're like, now you're doing it behind the shoulder in third person. So they had so many of those things. And I'm like, just show me one new thing, just one thing that you've created.
So you think this isn't a sequel? This is like Helldivers 3D.
It's a mod.
It's
Yeah.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Okay.
I could understand. Yeah.
Thanks, Nate. Now I'm not as excited about it.
Well, Scott, me and you, I feel like I highlighted on you because I'm like, me and you talk about co-op games and how we don't like just standing shoulder to shoulder with other people and just blasting, just DPSing. I'm like, co-op could be really interesting if you had to do other, like things that weren't combat, right?
Right. Like build
and this game is like,
stuff.
And this game is like, it's third person. Oh, by the way, you have 3 other teammates all in the camera view. Like you're all 12 feet away from each other.
Right.
Which it just depressed me to no end.
Yeah.
So I might be ending my life after this one comes out, but I don't know. Maybe I won't.
At least wait till the first patch. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm jumping all the way to Dragon's Dogma 2, which was halfway through that show.
Yeah.
I felt like this did look good. Now it does on Capcom's website. It is a single player game, which I felt like the first one had some multiplayer-ish components. Do you guys remember that?
I don't think so.
It didn't. You didn't play with other people, but your pawns that you made were uploaded to a server, and you could
drive avatars.
Well, no, not really.
Not quite.
Not really.
Yeah, you could actually, like when you met a pawn or initiated a pawn or whatever, it was somebody else's. Like they had created, so you could use them. And then when I don't really remember how, but you would get stuff from that pawn. Like if somebody used yours, you would get things. Like they collected things from that other person's game. So you would get stuff from their game if they used your pawn. So the idea was to make better ones so that other people would use them, that kind of thing. So that was really the only multiplayer aspect to it. It was really cool, though.
All right. Am I wrong in thinking that the developer, he's a famous Japanese developer, right? Mm-hmm. And I felt like he wanted to do some interesting online things with that first game, and then it was like, we just got to ship it and wrap it up.
Yeah, I think they just didn't get funding to. I think originally it was going to be an MMO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was.
And so they just scaled it down and made it a single player. And you can kind of tell in the world and with the story. The story seems very tacked on.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I got to the. I'm sure I'm not giving anything away, but when you fight the main dragon at the end, he's like got this woman. He's like, "Oh, I've got this woman here, and I'm going to kill her in front of you, and she this is the love of your life, and blah blah." And I'm like, "Who is that? I've never seen that woman in this game before." So apparently, there's like a whole like quest line I didn't do. It involves this woman, and I'm like, I don't care, eat her, like whatever. So it didn't have that kind of flow. But the story was not great about it. The gameplay was what was great about it. And if they just double down on that, it's going to be fantastic. I'm excited about it.
Scott, is this Tears of the Kingdom for adults?
No,
it's not.
No, I wouldn't say that. No.
Darn it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately.
My other question is, we saw Elden Ring sell north of 20 million copies, right? Which is a huge success for. Do you see that this game could potentially explode in a similar way?
I don't.
You don't see that?
No, not with that. But I can see this game doing better than the first one. The first one kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't have any marketing here in the U.S. Like zero. So if they market it, there's nothing on the market right now like this. Like nothing. Somebody's going to say, well, Final Fantasy was... No, this is not Final Fantasy. This is more realistic combat. It's got some survival aspects to it. And again, if you are out and it gets dark, it is dark. If you don't have a lantern, you're just screwed. You're just going to die. So if this comes out at a good time, I could see it doing good. 20 million?
No date
maybe not, but
right?
There's no date announced to it. So,
okay.
I mean, we're assuming like between now and like March of next year, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a March game actually, because I think Capcom likes to do that sometimes.
Shorter windows.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they do put out games in good times. I mean, they know when to release a game. So let's hope they do.
Hopefully, we'll get a demo too.
Yeah. And it's coming to PC.
Okay, right. I feel like this is the first game was the type of game every once in a while you'll see on a message board on Reddit where someone's like, "That's my favorite game of all time. You all suck for not buying it." Like you see that comment a lot, right? So that I feel like that bodes well. Like I might check this one out. Because it seems to have some goodwill.
The first one's very cheap right now, so you can get it for like less than $10 usually.
Oh man, it's definitely worth the money. I mean, if you like action RPGs and open worlds, I mean, if you like Skyrim, you will enjoy this game. Just period.
I think the only problem with the game is it doesn't tell you a lot of its system very well.
Oh, there's a lot of things wrong with it. That's the only thing. Yeah. But it doesn't take your enjoyment away from it, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to probably a high point in the show. I don't know if Scott thinks this is a high point. Marathon by Bungie. Let's go to Thick because Scott's making a weird face. Thick. Thick. Was this a high point in the show for you?
As an extraction shooter? Yes.
Yes. A fully fledged. Really? Yeah.
Well, okay. So we've seen Bungie kind of like change genres or like make genres even better. Like when they put their spin on it, right? In some ways.
Yeah.
So I think there's potential for them to do this with extraction shooters, and that's why I'm excited.
Right. I agree. I think that's safe to say. I felt like the art direction was great. You know,
it was okay.
I love the art direction and the music. Yeah. Oh man, that music was great. Just fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you know that there's more to that video that had to be
Vidoc,
unlocked?
Right?
Yeah.
Unlocked.
Yeah, there was a code in the actual video, and of course, I think it only took like 3 hours for somebody to find the YouTube link in it in some way, and they do talk about it. Now, the guy that's in charge of this is Chris Barrett, and Chris Barrett's been at Bungie since Halo, and he was one of the leads on the original Destiny, and he did a lot for Destiny 2, and arguably some of the better stuff they did for Destiny 2. Chris Barrett was involved. So he's the lead on this, and that is a good thing because he says that in that vid doc, they're talking about the story elements and how this marathon kind of, is in the same universe as the original marathon, which the 3 games they made, which don't look anything alike, unfortunately. But and how that, like, you're not a human. This is like basically you're like your consciousness is in a husk. So that's how you keep repeating, this extraction over and over. So if it's got, a live service attached to it to where it expands on that gameplay, it doesn't have to be an extraction shooter. It could start as one, and if it becomes something bigger, then I will definitely give it a try. I mean, it's it is Bungie. I'm a huge Bungie fan, obviously. So I'm just a little disappointed that it's not something new. It seems like everybody's wanting to make an extraction shooter, and this is how BRs are still. We got 2 that most people play, and not 40. So I
won't say anything. I'm not taking your bait, Scott. I'm not taking it. No.
Well, so what I would say is this would have been a better opener for them than.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have kicked the show off. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did say that in that vid doc they said that they wanted to release this to give a feel of kind of what it's going to look like and what it's going to be as a new marathon, and then to let everybody know what they're working on, because it's been too long since they've said anything. But then, of course, they will go dark, and the next time we hear about this, they'll be doing closed betas and then open betas, and then, upon release. Okay. So, 6 months to 5 years, who knows?
Right. I want to ask you guys this question. So I think I'm obsessed with this idea that, like, the multiplayer of the future, it's open world. It's giant maps where people can kind of interact in more interesting ways than just shooting each other.
I didn't get that impression from this, though.
No, that's why... That's why I wanted to bring it up. So in the vidoc, they bring up a couple of maps, like from the top down, like schematics, and it kind of looked small, linear, And I know Tarkov is. Tarkov is not an open world game, right?
Yes.
Wait, it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's open world. Well, it's okay. It's open maps, I guess you should say. It's not one big open world, but it is a very large, like, open world map. that you start in different places. So yeah, again, open world now it's kind of a little gray, but it is. There are open worlds in Tarkov. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little worried when I saw those little schematics because I'm like, oh, that kind of looks a little smaller. It looks like there's big water silos that make up most of the map. But who knows? Who knows how much that really showed off? I do want to bring up this point. So I was listening to the Seasoned Gaming podcast, and they have a guy on. His name is Ty Guy Travis. He works for IGN. Apparently, he says, he's the type of person. He says, I talk to the guys at Bungie. I talk to them, like, he's like, that's what he says. He says that apparently, and he's a big Destiny player. And I want to bring this by you, Scott. Thick, are you a Destiny player?
More or less.
More or less. Okay, both of you. I want to bring this by both of you. He says that there was a brain drain around Destiny in 2018 because their A team at Bungie kind of unhooked from Destiny. They kind of gave it to the B team, and the A team is who is making the Marathon game. So he's like super pumped. He's like, this is Bungie's like crown jewel studio who's making this. Do you guys agree with that?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. The people that I will say this. In the lifespan of Destiny 2, when there's a large expansion that comes up, they usually have the project lead talking about it, and it's always somebody different. So it's not one person that is basically in charge of the content for Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 is their bread and butter. It makes them a lot of money. It funds what they're working on right now. Yeah. I don't think they have an A team, a B team. I just don't think they do. I think that they have project leads like Chris Barrett that, lead just this group of people to make this game and this group of people to make this game. They are winding down Destiny 2.
They have the final DLCs
shape
coming out, right?
will be next year, and then I think they really haven't said what they're doing with that. It's not like they're just going to turn the servers off, obviously. I think that that will probably just be the last large expansion that we get in Destiny 2, and we'll just get like trickles of stuff from then on. Okay. And then, but at that point, that's probably when we're going to see the majority of Bungie working on Marathon. But they're at like 500 people plus now or more.
I thought I read it was 1,000. I thought I read that recently.
So 1,000 people's not an AB team, A team or B team. That's just, you've got 400 people working on one game and the rest working on multiple stuff. I think they have another game in production as well.
Matter. It's called Matter.
Right. And that is rumored to be a mobile game. But still, that's people. So no, I don't agree with that at all. That doesn't sound like a Bungie thing.
Okay. All right. Well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I guess the reason why I did lean, I kind of thought he might be right, is because I feel like the last time I heard people praising Destiny was like the Witch Queen. Yeah. People like love that DLC, and then I felt like really good. Yeah, and I don't know if that came out in 2018 or not, or whatever.
That came out last year.
Yeah.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, it was last February.
Oh, okay. All right. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Right. The one that came out this February blows.
Let's not talk about it.
Right.
So.
All right. So I think, I do want to say this again. Both of you are going to go on the internet and you're going to hear people say multiplayer is a crapshoot, and then they will avoid the foregone conclusion that Marathon is going to be a huge hit. Remember, it's a complete gamble, and I know Marathon is going to be a massive game, right?
It will be, yeah.
Yeah. I have two more games that I felt like were games that mattered. One was Concord by Firewalk Studios, the newly acquired studio. Worst trailer ever, CGI hamburger.
Yeah, on a spaceship. It tells us nothing. Absolutely nothing.
The only thing it tells us is there's like some cool tech 70s vibe techno, in the logo. That's it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then the last one, I guess I do want to get your takes on this. Spider-Man 2.
One thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Final Fantasy 16, no demo.
Oh, no demo. You called the demo.
Yeah, I called the demo and I was wrong. I'm kind of sad.
Vic, are you day one on that?
I am interested. I was talking to people at the convention I went to, and like the story is by the same person that brought back the story in Final Fantasy 14 and did a great job. So that kind of made me a little bit more excited now that I kind of knew that.
Okay, so there's some pedigree there.
Yeah, and then like there's various pedigrees with like the Devil May Cry, combat lead, I believe, or someone that worked in the combat.
It shows.
So,
Yeah.
But I do want to get my hand on demo. It's coming out very soon, so like.
Do you know when it is? When's it coming out?
June 12th, I think.
Is it?
I think June 20th ish, like near the end of June.
Oh.
Okay. All right. And this. So, do we know if this is in the beginning of that trailer is like Creative Assembly Unit 12? They had a real funky name, the developer.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know who it was. I don't know if that is this the Final Fantasy 15 studio, which I don't know when they released that.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I feel like there's a little bit more from 14 and maybe a combination of other.
Oh, okay. Maybe they just okay, I gotcha. All right, so this was the last game that mattered for me. We can get into other things after this, but this was the Spider-Man 2 thing that I think a lot of people say saved the show a little bit. Now, I don't know if you guys were high on it. Scott, what was your take now that the dust is settled?
I really wasn't impressed by it. I mean, I think that that first trailer that we got looked really, really good. And I think a lot of people, even though they said it wasn't gameplay, I think a lot of people thought that was gameplay. And they were expecting it to look like that. And it doesn't. It looks like the first game on PS5, which I'm okay with. It's not that big a deal. But it just, and this is I'm sure a very small segment of this game that they showcased, but it just seemed like, I mean, it's 2023. Do we really need quick time events and cutscenes? It's these kind of games. I don't get excited about anymore. I just can't. When it's a game that it's like, oh, look how cool that is, him doing that. That's not me doing that. That's a cutscene. Oh, now I can control the character and just do this.
When he gets on that jet ski and you have to watch him do a flip and he pulls the guy off. You remember that?
Yeah.
When they're going, I'm like, stop. I want to stop playing. Like, I'm walking away,
Yeah.
It's like Call of Duty got a lot of flack for their cinematic kind of like campaigns. And I feel like
QTEs,
I feel the same for here. Because like, I know, Spider-Man games are more for like everyone, right? But from what I've been playing of Spider-Man 1, I feel like they do take a lot of agency out of you and how you do things, because like it kind of does it automatically for you in some ways, right? I mean, there's still stuff that you could do. One thing I did like about the trailer, and I don't know if this is in other games, is when you were playing as Miles Morales, you could make was it web type like webs to the wall, and you could walk across it, and then you could stealth attack people.
That was cool.
That was the best part, I thought.
Yeah. I kind of agree. That I did notice that one too. I hated watching it where, like, I think that was the scene where, you get a call from Spider-Man and then Miles Morales has to go to the warehouse. So he lands on top of the roof and then you watch a quick cutscene him going in the window. And I'm like, it bugs me to no end that I can't go through the window. I don't want to watch a cutscene where he goes through the window,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it seems like it's not, especially watching it, you can't determine what am I going to be doing? Am I going to be doing that, or is that a cutscene? Is that, you're just looking for button prompts, right? It's like, if there's a button prompt, I'm obviously doing that action, or it's a QTE. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, honestly, the trailer does make me want to play Miles Morales more, because he actually seemed like a more fun character. I don't know if he's that different from the original, or...
I'm not a fan.
From Peter Parker?
Not a fan?
No.
Yeah, like his style of gameplay. Like, I know it's like very like a slightly tuned different remix of the original, but
it's clumsy.
Yeah, I want to give it a try and see how I feel about it, because it seems like it's a little bit better from what I saw. But I mean, I could be wrong.
Well, in this trailer, it looks much better than the game Miles Morales, and I haven't finished it. I haven't gone back to it yet, but again, it's not. as appealing to me to play that. I just got bit. I'm figuring everything out, and I've got to deal with these adolescent, problems as well.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of over that. It was very refreshing to play the first Spider-Man, where you immediately start playing Spider-Man, who is a well-established hero and has abilities, and you just run with it, and you're not still figuring everything out, in quotation marks. Playing Miles Morales, even his swing, he's not gotten down yet. He's still kind of like clumsy in it and, swinging all over the place. But in the trailer, it definitely looks like he's, picked up his stride. And maybe in the game he does by the end of the, the Miles Morales Spider-Man. But it definitely looked a lot better in that aspect. I mean, for, in between the quick time events and the cutscenes.
It does seem like, based on the story I do like the story, at least. I mean, that's something that they can't really get wrong, I guess. But I do like, the Venom story is one of my favorites, usually.
Yeah. But yeah, it's how they're going to do this and how it goes into the story and changes Peter Parker and everything. I mean, it's really good, and the costume looks great. Even though it does, Nate said it last week, it looks just like Spawn.
Oh yeah.
And it does. And now that you say that, I can't stop seeing it. But yeah, this game as a whole, it's going to do great. It's going to be fine. I'm sure the story is going to be great as long as they don't have any Mary Jane levels. And eventually I'll play it on PC. But
I'm not expecting anything on the gameplay department so far.
Yeah, I just, it's hard to remember if was Sony saying this was going to be like the pinnacle of the power of the PlayStation 5, or was it just fans saying that?
I thought Jim Ryan might have said that.
I think he said it in some way.
Yeah.
And I'm just not really seeing it.
No.
It just really doesn't look much better which is fine. The first one looks great, but
yeah, I think that's more of a testament to how good the original looks, right?
Yeah, it does. It looked great I played it on PS4. It looked great on PS4.
Yeah.
Is there also something to, like, that game moves so fast, like you're just constantly bouncing around, that I feel like you can, Horizon Forbidden West, you're really sneaking around.
Right.
You're really like taking your time to look at these big, slow moving things.
Yeah.
I feel like you can appreciate really good graphics there. I'm like, if Spider-Man looked great, I wouldn't see it because I'm just jumping from bad guy to bad guy to building to building.
There's so many opportunities for you to just kind of swing around New York. And sometimes you'll stop and look in an apartment, and it's a full-fledged apartment. Like you're looking inside of an apartment. There's a kitchen, there's a microwave, there's a plate on the table, there's a coffee cup. I mean, it's not every one of them, obviously, but you see those details that they put into it. I'm sure that there will be a lot of used assets in this game, but yeah, they did take a lot of time to add a lot of life into New York, as best they could on a PS4. When you land on the street, some of the people, they'd look the same, identical, but they all react to what you're doing. And, I mean, it's a marvel, to use the term, on a PS4. I just kind of was hoping to see a little bit more on the PS5 for the next game.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll have a showcase where they show everything you're going to be doing in this game and not just like this little sliver of quick time events.
One thing I did notice is the whole switching between Miles Morales and Peter Parker. I think they're trying to do that to showcase the load times in a way.
Oh yeah, I can see
that. But was it voluntary or was it involuntary? It looked very involuntary. Like, now for this segment you're playing this
button. I mean, it's a quick time button, but I assume.
But do you think that you're going to be able to tackle most of the missions with one character, or the character that you prefer?
I'm guessing that Pete turns into Venom at some point, and he becomes the bad guy or the main bad guy, and you have to save Pete, and that's kind of and it's going to be mostly Miles Morales.
Yeah,
interesting. Okay, all right. Well, did you guys? Were there any other games that mattered? I felt like everything else was a filler game. Maybe not that foam Splatoon game. That was pretty sweet.
Did you want to talk about that one? Because I felt like we completely skipped it.
Yeah. It looked like filler.
It's Splatoon. Yeah.
Right.
I think there's way too much copied. It's such a shameless copy, but
Yeah.
I still want to try it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the one I don't even remember the one from the developers that made Grizz.
Oh yeah,
I know what you're talking
the
about.
antler dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, that's just what a wasted opportunity. I mean, that game doesn't. Okay, I know what that game looks like now, and if I see it again, I'll recognize it. That's all I got from it. That's
wait. Explain this. I don't understand what you're saying here.
I'm saying that didn't show anything. I mean, what is the game? What are you going to be doing in the game?
Oh,
I think if you played the original, you kind of have an idea.
Sequel?
I don't think it's a sequel, but okay. So the original was not very like mechanic heavy. It's really
like
more of an experience. Yeah, in a way. There are mechanics, but
okay. I didn't play the first one, so how do I know that? So that's my point, right?
Yeah, it kind of relies on you knowing what Gris is, because that's how they introduce it, right?
Epic fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to introduce your new game, especially if it's a new IP, that's not a way to do it. I mean, yeah, it's pretty. It looks good. It's very artistic, but I didn't take anything from that.
But I what I find interesting is you pinpointed that game for some reason. That game, if you never brought that up, I would never have thought about that.
Because it kind of it's a good example of like the same thing with I've already forgotten the name. Haven's games. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, snazzy's neat. Oh, this is a cool of what is it? It's okay, that's it. Oh, and here's the name of the game.
It didn't tell you much.
I don't know. I still don't know what that is. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's almost I know when they go in these meetings and they talk about this and they get with the marketing team's like, oh, we got this. This is going to be great. It's going to do this. It's going to generate a lot of blah, 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 blah. It really doesn't. It just causes the questions that come up are like, what the hell is this? And, what are you trying to do with this? And if it looks like something else, then it's even worse because then it's now automatically compared to something else. If it's not that game, then you should have shown that. You should have shown that it does not resemble this other game. So I just think it does more harm than good by making these cinematic trailers nowadays. I don't think it does. I don't think it generates positivity the way that they want it to. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I hear you. You. Well, to add on to your point, I'm just like, well, what? Because I mean, obviously, everyone at PlayStation knows people prefer gameplay in their trailers, right? Everyone knows that.
I would hope they would know.
That's been known for 20 years that people like us prefer that. But the reason why they're not including it is because I don't think it's ready.
No, it's not.
Right. And if it's not ready, what the heck are people going to be playing in 2024? I guess they're going to be playing a bunch of third-party games, right?
Well, yeah, obviously. And the remakes and they're going to, remasters or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, I don't know. Yeah, this game could be 10 years out. Who knows?
Right.
Speaking of which, where is Skull and Bones?
Oh my gosh.
We don't talk about that. Well, not until
like
Ubisoft
6 months
Showcase.
Yeah, whatever. Oh God. Oh man, I can't wait for that one.
I guess I just have a couple of questions here for you.
Yeah.
We already talked about the one. Right now, so you know that 60-40 slide where games as a service are 60% investment. Do you guys get the feeling that the next 3 years, people are going to be pissed at PlayStation showcases because they're going to be multiplayer centric?
Yes.
That I feel like everyone online is going to be like, where's my Uncharted
Horizon
17?
3.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I wonder, because I just don't think multiplayer gamers they're not as involved in the conversation as, right?
Yeah,
not seemingly.
If you look at statistics, when you think multiplayer, you don't think PlayStation.
And you do now. You do.
That's
now.
what I'm saying. That's what they're changing, and that's
Right.
what they need to change. They need to innovate.
Yeah. And I will say this. So I see that comment a lot online, and I always think I'm always like, well, the biggest PlayStation in the history of PlayStation is Fortnite. It's not Uncharted. It's not Spider-Man.
Right.
It's not
Right.
right. It's a multiplayer game.
Right.
I think people constantly forget, like, out of 120 million PS4 sales, their best-selling game was, Spider-Man, a single-player game. It sold 20 million. So that means 100 million players weren't interested in that, right?
Right.
Because I think they're playing Fortnite, they're playing Call of Duty, they're playing Madden.
They're playing something they can play every day.
Right.
And not just play it for 2 or 3 days and throw it away.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, are there do you guys have any other comments on this showcase?
Can we talk about the handheld thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that. Scott, start us off here. What do you think?
I think this is the worst idea they've had in years.
All right.
This is terrible.
All right. And that's how we should end the show?
No. I have a salvo I'm going to launch at Scott.
Okay, you going to sell it on me?
Vic, do you want to defend the honor of PlayStation, or should I?
I'll get my popcorn ready. But
all right. Here's the thing.
He's got nothing.
I have played Switch. Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
I have played it exclusively in my house. I have never once wanted to bring that thing out into the public.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I have wanted is a decent thumbstick where I can do headshots, right? So I think what Sony is realizing, and Thick said this a long time ago. I'm like, well, Thick, how do you play your Switch? He's like, oh, I play it in bed, before I go to sleep at night. Mm-hmm. And I think people at PlayStation are like, that's what a lot of people are doing. They're playing the Switch in bed.
Yeah, I did that with my Vita.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what they're saying is they're saying the market to bring this handheld out of the house, it's not as big as people think. Like, more people are just playing their handheld 30 feet away from their TV.
Well, unless you're 8. And you take your Switch everywhere you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but I think this is targeting people who are like, I just want to kind of like chill out in my room. I don't.
Or how much? Though?
This is your second screen.
Right.
Oh, it's going to be $300. Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, you say 300?
Easy. Yeah. I'd be surprised if it was under $300.
$250.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but still, Logitech made this same thing. This is almost identical to Logitech's whatever, which I can't remember because nobody can. It's already gone. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants it because they charge $299 for an extra $50. You can go buy a Steam Deck and have a handheld computer. And then for a little bit less, you can buy a Switch and have games that you can play on the Switch.
Go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
I'm not saying that there's not a market for that. Especially that second screen. That's the big thing. That second screen, because a lot of people, they get their the best TV in the house. They want to put their PlayStation on it. Well, that TV might be shared by the entire family. Well, why not have something that you can? Hey, they're watching TV. I can still play it on this little screen. That's fantastic. That's great. That's probably what they're going for. But it's all going to come down to price. If that thing is $100, we don't have a problem. Go get it.
Well, the regular controller's $80, I think, right? So how much is that screen and how much is that are the guts?
Exactly.
Right.
If it only streams from your PlayStation 5, that's a problem. What is this price? And where's the price? Why didn't they announce a price? This is when you announce a price of something.
Yeah.
So if this is going to be their holiday hardware item, and this is the Sony that's on top again. They're number one. They can charge anything they want.
I don't know.
What would you pay for that? How much would you pay for that?
I would seriously, if I saw $199, I would look twice at it. Now, I don't like, I'm not keeping this Switch. Maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a big, draw to like second screen game. Like I said, I when I'm playing Zelda, I want to play it on my TV and I want to play it on decent.
Which you can, right?
You can, but I'm like, I got to get everything out of that box, and then I got to put that little plastic thing around the Switch Joy-Cons, and I'm like, that just looks like that's a hassle, But yeah, $199, I think that thing could move some units.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Are you buying it at $199?
I still think $199 is too high, but
I think $199 is too high too. I'd buy it.
You think $199 is too high?
I think it's going to be $300. I think it's going to be $299.
Really?
I think Sony's going to. I think Sony's just going to. They're going to price it out. It's going to be.
I'm really thinking like $200 to $250.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, because like the Logitech one at least had Android like system on it, so you can kind of play mobile games. This one doesn't seem like it.
How much was that one? How much was the Logitech one?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see, I suppose.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just think it's a mistake for them to. I don't know. Well, I mean, I should reserve that until we get a price.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I think is feasible. If it's anything over $150.
Really?
I'm going to say $149. Yeah.
A few weeks ago we were talking about the what does the successor of the Switch look like? I know Scott was like they should they should make a console and then they should make a handheld, right? Remember saying that? But
yeah, that didn't age well, did it?
Why? I don't understand how come they're just not making something that feels good for people who are over the age of 12.
Yeah, I don't either. It's not hard to do, especially now if you look at the Steam Deck and the
do those feel good?
Asus,
Steam Deck,
ROG Ally, and
do those things feel good? Like, are they the equivalent of
good? But they're heavy. They are heavy.
All right, so is that I feel like my issue is not. I never really think about
it's not heavy enough for me. Like, I'm just saying, like, as for like certain audiences, yeah.
Okay.
It will be heavy.
All right. It's too heavy to like and expensive to buy it and then hand it over to your 7-year-old. You know, the Switch is a much better option for something like that. But
yeah, and it's harder to honestly kind of hard to be portable in some ways because it is bulkier. It does take up a lot of space in my bag.
But you're right, Nate. Most of the people that you know I've seen on like Reddit and everything that have like a Steam Deck, it never leaves the house.
I know. I think with adults, it does.
Right. Yeah. They're using it as just either playing. It's just handy to have, you know, to lay on the couch and play a game or lay in bed.
Or a toilet.
Right. Or
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's of course. But
yeah,
I just remember, and this is old technology, but I had the PS4 and I had the Vita, and you can second screen. So you could stream your games to the Vita. And we had a pretty decent router. And it wasn't great. I mean, it was laggy. So, I mean, if they could have it to where there is a lot lower lag in your home with your router going to your PlayStation 5, that would be a much better experience, especially if it's the only option. Because, you know, the Vita has its own games.
Right.
So, I wish they had just made another Vita. But
remember, one of the upgrades the PS5 had over the Series X, I felt like, was their Wi-Fi. Do they have a Wi-Fi 6? They had like some new version of Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi 6, which is Wi-Fi AX.
So is that? Do you think that's somehow like a long-term plan, that like the streaming stuff? I was just surprised that Xbox didn't want to include that, and PlayStation's like, no.
Well, they probably look at how many of those routers are sold and how many people have those in their home, and it's probably very, very small. It's probably like tiny.
It's getting up there. I think
of course it is. I mean, it's going to be a standard at some point, but you know, 10 years from now?
But is this some kind of, can you call this a competitive advantage if this is like what you want to invest into?
I think that if you have that, it could definitely help streaming to another device.
Is this going to...
Definitely.
So this would help that handheld?
Well, if the handheld supports it, yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to support
supports it. Your personal router supports it, then yeah.
Okay, all right. Interesting. All right. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts on the showcase?
I'll lower it to a C+.
C+.
After talking about it.
I'm going to say one thing, and the reason why I'm not that depressed with it is, here's what I saw true vision and leadership with Jim Ryan. Because here's what he showed us. Here's what that man showed us.
Salute.
He brought 4 PlayStation studios to the showcase.
Yeah.
3 of them were games. One of them was like a surefire 20 million hit. And I'm like, that guy gets it. That guy understands this industry better than the gamers that are talking about it online. And,
well, yeah, I mean, I think he's, There's a lot of armchair corporates out there. I think they could run Sony better than somebody else.
Right. Yeah, they'd make new Bloodborns. Yeah. That sell 1.2 million copies, and they'd lead PlayStation dry with that crap.
Yeah.
sorry, poor language.
I like Bloodborne.
What's that?
I like Bloodborne. I just got there out.
But do we gotta talk about Bloodborne every time you open up a Reddit page? Do people?
No,
I don't think
just
so.
Let it go, man. Let it go. I mean, there's many sequels that I've had to let go. You'll feel better. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I don't have anything. But we're the next Xbox is next, right?
Xbox,
and then it's Summer Games or whatever.
Yeah. So I have a suggestion. I want one of you two to make a predictions test, because clearly both of you can't be doing another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although I guess if you do the test, you can also include yourself in the test. But I think those tests are fun. Yeah.
5 questions.
Really 5, or you could even do 10 if you have a lot of ideas or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'll think about it.
3, 1.
I think 5 questions is good because it's Xbox.
the right amount of time.
We don't want to give them too many questions.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Scott, I think this is the point of our show where we tell listeners how to reach us again.
Well, you can leave a comment down below, or you can go to our Twitter, which is PodDropped, or Twitter @PodDropped, and leave us a comment. Check us out. And then we also have an audio version on Spotify and Apple and Google and everywhere. So check us out there and leave a like and subscribe.
Yes. Scott, what is another name for teacher?
Mentor.
So like a mentor.
It's a good one.
Maybe sensei. Maybe
I was gonna say sensei.
Mm-hmm.
Professor, I guess.
Yep.
I'm right now. I'm describing Thick to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thick, take us to the school of life.
Okay. You guys love dark quotes, so what is it?
I do not love dark quotes.
I think you just keep giving them.
I actually prefer like optimistic quotes, but you know,
okay,
you do you.
One. It's
okay. Maybe this is optimistic.
This is your gig. You do it.
Okay. If you want to see the fate of democracies, look out the window.
I don't know how to interpret that at all.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'll tell you the game it's from.
Okay.
Fallout, New Vegas.
Look out the window. So I guess in that scenario, it's a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
So you did depress us with like democracy leads to ruin, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, within the context of the game. But, I mean, you can interpret it if you want.
Going dark.
Right.
Always dark.
Maybe next week we'll have an uplifting quote. I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Wink, wink.
Do my due diligence on this.
All right. Cool. All right. So I guess we'll see everyone on next Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Boy.
Adios.